Welcome back to the Top 6 show. It's Bank Holiday Monday. Smash the like buttons, subscribe. The Premier League season is over. We will be reviewing some of that today. We're looking at the biggest flop and the biggest improved players over the course of this season. Plus, we're going to be looking at some of the biggest and best transfer stories of the day. Pochettino at Chelsea. Ugarte reportedly very close to Chelsea, according to reports from Portugal. We're taking a look at Arsenal and Cancelo, Joao Cancelo from Man City. Man United, is the deal for Harry Kane off the table? £125 million they reportedly want. All that and much, much more coming up on the show today. So stay with us. We are, as you can see, sponsored by NordVPN. Again, make sure you're being protected online. Make sure big companies, big tech, and the government are not harvesting your data and what you do on the internet by protecting yourself right now. So scan the QR code or go to nordvpn.com/football terrace to sign up. But look at my beautiful panel tonight. All looking, most of them looking really glad that the Premier League season is over. How are we all, gentlemen? We all good? We all good?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
I'm
How's
all
everyone
right.
else doing?
My team bottled the league title on the weekend, but we won't go into that. That's a different league entirely.
Oh, yeah, you're talking Dortmund. You're talking Dortmund.
I was thinking about it for a second.
Bless. I know he's a big Dortmund fan as well. I wanted to start off today, though, gents, with... I want to go to Staffy first on this. The media is saying now that there's little confidence of Man United can convince Daniel Levy to sell Harry Kane for anything less than £125 million. What is your instant reaction to that as a Man United fan? We need a number 9. We need a goal scorer. But is £125 million too much for 30-year-old Harry Kane?
Listen, there. I was thinking about it today. I wish Spurs were I wish they were that good at winning titles as they're good as, overpricing Kane and their players, because they do a great job at that. Poor guy. I feel like he's, at this point, he's being held hostage over there. 125 million for a 30-year-old player. Listen, I want Kane. I want to spend big on Kane, but 125 million. That's insane. Like that, I just look at it, and that's just like a way of leaving. I don't think he's actually trying to get 125. He's just trying to price him out. And it's just like it's another Levy masterclass. He's done it last year. He's done it the year before. He always does that with Kane. And I'm just like, at what point does Kane just leave on a reasonable price? Because he has one more year left on his contract after this. He's 30 years old. You're out of all European competitions, and you're still putting 125 million price tag on his head. That's just insane to me. I'm not surprised that Levy did that, but that's just insane to me.
Let me ask you something, Stuffy. Simple. Benzema 5 years ago, if you knew that Benzema would have this career in 5 years, would you have paid 125 million for him, knowing that he's going to get you over the line?
125 5 years ago is different
because
than 125
Benzema,
right now.
Benzema, I think, is 5 years older than Harry Kane. Look at what he achieved in the last 5 years, the Champions Leagues and the leagues and the amount of goals and the Ballon d'Ors, and he got them over the line. And I think you would say that Harry, at that time, Benzema, if you see the career, is worth 125 million. See, this is Harry Kane. It might be the guy that is left to get you over the line and get you maybe go further in the Champions League, get you that 25 goals in the league that would make you win the league or challenge the league or get the 90 points. This is what is stopping teams from winning trophies. Something like this. Harry Kane, for me, is worth $125 million. In this day and age, he's definitely worth it.
Now, I'll tell you what the issue is, and I think Terry might agree with me on this. 125 eats massively out of your budget. Okay, so when you put 125 in Kane,
so now you're talking budget, not talking worth it. Now, see, you changed the way you talk. Now you said budget instead of worth it. The question was, is he worth 125 million? If you have in your budget 125 million for a striker like Harry Kane, would you pay it now? Instead of talking about budget, talk about is he worth it?
Okay, well, I'm talking about both. Because you can overpay for a player, but he could be the last piece in your team. So let's say this team is complete. This is the last signing of the season. We have to overpay to get a striker. Let's say we already got a center back, a goalkeeper, a right back, a midfielder, whatever the hell we need. And Kane is the last thing. And you're like, you know what? It's 125 or nothing. To me, in that situation, I'll give it a conversation. But when it's the first signing of the season that we're talking about, and we know how much of a rebuild, not a rebuild, I don't want to use that word because we're not rebuilding, but we need to add correct pieces this summer to keep going on the trajectory that we're on right now. And I don't know what our budget is going to be. I don't even know if we're going to be sold yet or not. 125 million for a guy who is 30 years old and he has one more year left on his contract. As much as I want him, I don't want to spend that much because I know it's going to harm us in other positions. And I would rather go for someone who's a little bit cheaper, but that means we're going to get a better goalkeeper, a better center back, a right back, a midfielder. I see more priorities than to prioritize 125 on someone who we can get cheaper. I believe he could go cheaper with the circumstances.
Staffy, quick one then, yeah? If United were to go and win the league after getting Harry Kane, is he worth it then? What makes Kane not worth it? Because ultimately, if you're getting him in to achieve the goal of winning titles and winning leagues, if he does that, then you can spend 180 million on him. Like, if he does that for you, then you're reaping the rewards for paying that money. It's only not worth it if he doesn't deliver. So if there's a bit of you within yourself that's like, you know what, I don't think Kane's that guy that's gonna kind of move the needle for United, then that's understandable. But if you think he's that guy and you want him, then ultimately, if, like as Mo said, if the budget's already there, like you've got 150 million allocated, 125 million allocated for a striker, then why not go for him? That's not a misuse of the budget if you've allocated that money for him.
But here's my point. 2 years ago, if I'm correct, it was 3 years ago, he was priced at 150 by Levy. Okay, let's say it was 2 years ago because I think that was around the time that City wanted him. Yeah. So he was 150. Okay, now 2 years later, he's 2 years older. His contract is 2 years closer to ending, and he only goes down by 25 million.
And he's got
the
better.
Circumstances of the club. Listen, this is not me taking a dig at him as a player. I want him because I rate him highly as a player. But I'm just saying 2 years later to get him for 125, because we always overpay. I'm just so tired of my club overpaying. We overpay over every player that we try to get. 2 years later, he's only down 25 million from his original price 2 years ago. And his team is in a worse situation where they're not even in Europe. So, like, they don't really have that upper hand in terms of, like, you know, keeping him and whatnot because he wants to leave. And we're still getting outpriced. I just don't think that's reasonable. I think this deal should be negotiated way less than it is.
I understand where you're coming from. I'm honestly, I have a bad gut feeling. I said on a video this morning, it feels too much. But then I've sort of spent the rest of the day. I mean, not every minute of the day, to be fair. But why do I think that? And I honestly believe it's once bitten, twice shy for Man United fans. We have gone big on so many strikers and so many players post Fergie, whether it be Lukaku, Pogba as examples, Jadon Sancho, Maguire, and they've never had the impacts that Haalands and Van Dijks, etc., have had for their respective clubs. And I think if we go 125 on Kane and he flops, I think what a lot of Man United fans may not be deeping is the banter that comes with it and the criticism you get for spending that much and it not working because it's happened before. You know, so a lot of our players that have delivered have been slightly cheaper players, if that makes sense, retrospectively compared to the others, you know. But I'm in two minds. The question is, who else can you buy at a much cheaper price? Because if it's only 20, 30 million pounds, like if there's talk that Benfica are going to want 100 million pounds for Ramos. Now, if it's 100 million pounds for Ramos, I'm spending 125 million on Kane.
No, I agree.
The only player out there is Usherman, and they're quoting 130, 140 for him. So he is marginally more expensive, but then he's younger. But the question is he as good a football player as Harry Kane? The answer is no. He can't do what Harry Kane does. What he does have over Kane is youth in comparison, lots more athleticism and a lot more speed. So it's a different way of playing, but he's not as good a footballer. He can't sit back and playmaker or anything along those lines. I'm going to go to Brandon in a second. There's a super chat here that says, we don't need Harry Kane that badly. We can get someone younger for a more reasonable price and can go around and can be around for about 10 years. And Benzema wants to win more. Yeah, we can, but other than Victor Osimhen, I can't think of another striker who's going to come in and we need someone to come in and score us in all comps 30 plus goals next year. That's what Man United need. Who else is there in the world, barring Kane and Osimhen, that is as close to a guarantee as you can get? Does anyone know who that is?
He's not 30.
You can
how about Vlahovic?
You can gamble on youngsters, but
yeah, but
there's not
again.
Sorry, Brandon.
All these players that you're naming here, Vlahovic, Osimhen, Ramos, these are all players that play in different leagues. You've never seen them play in the Premier League before. Harry Kane guarantees Tottenham 30 goals a season, regardless of where Tottenham are as a team. So he 100% guarantees Manchester United 30 goals a season. And not only that, he's an excellent footballer as well. So I think the chances of him flopping at Man United is very, very, very minute and slim, because he's not just a goal scorer. He doesn't just offer you goals. He offers you everything else around the box as well. He's good at creating chances. He's a bit more of like a playmaker type striker as well. I think 125 million, I understand what you're saying, like with his age and his contract and that. But if you look at it in this day and age, you know, you just mentioned there, Osimhen, 100 million, Ramos, 100 million. And these players, they're good players in other leagues, but they've not proven themselves in the Premier League like he has. I honestly think if you go and get Harry Kane, he could be like your Robin Van Persie, you know?
Yeah, but the difference is between those two players that literally United lost the league by goal difference. This year, they're about 15, 20 points behind anyway. For me, it's the Harry Kane issue is opportunity cost rather than value for money. It's what are you willing to give up in order to get Harry Kane? Because we don't know what their budget is. They may not have budgeted 125 million for a striker. If they have, by all means, go get Harry Kane. But if they haven't, and we've got 300 million, let's improve the squad wherever we can. If they need a right back, a centre back, a goalkeeper, and I don't know what Man United need exactly. I'm sure Man United fans will know exactly what they need. But like, if they've got to get 5-6 players, dropping 125 into one player, and I've seen it done at my own club, where you go, oh, we've got one hole to fix, let's drop 100 on one player. That doesn't work quite. It just doesn't work.
Brendan, I just want to say that Carl B here says, like, why do fans care about money? But this is why. I understand the notion of it's not my money, why should I care? But it's terrible logic. And any pundit, any YouTuber that says it, send them my way and watch me embarrass them live on a camera. If you just hemorrhage money consistently, you fail. Unless you've got a bottomless pit of money, and it doesn't matter. There's only one team in England with the way they've been run in the last decade, where if they make a mistake in the transfer market, they instantly fix it, and they're instantly able to fix it, and that's Man City. Every other club, when they make a transfer that's a bit of a flop, we suffer for a year or two. Either you have to wait to build up more money to buy somebody else, or vice versa. I never like to plagiarize. Liez said this when we first brought Ten Hag in. Don't cheat the process, and that's what you could potentially. And this is the only downside to going 120 is if you go right. We need a new goalie, new midfielder, new centre back, and a striker. But we end up missing out on one or two of those positions because we overspend on Kane. Yes, you're going to get more goals, but you're not going to fix holes in your team. Now, if we get a new owner and all the debt's wiped off and money doesn't become an issue, then it's not a problem. But if there's a limited budget, that's where we do have to be careful, in my opinion. But it's a real tough one. Sorry, Brandon, you wanted to say something?
But at the same time, right, I'm just looking now. Man United finished almost 14 points off the top of the table this season, right? You drew 6 games. Harry Kane could be the difference between you drawing a game and winning a game. Do you see what I mean? He could easily make up that 14 points that you're currently missing to be there or thereabouts competing at the top of the table. That's how good he is. So I wouldn't play it down too much. You know, I know it's a lot of money to spend on a striker that's of that age and with that length of contract on it, but he could move the needle that much for Manchester United. I think it's a no-brainer personally.
There we go. I mean, look, everyone, listen, I'm honestly like so in the middle as a Man United fan. I see it from both sides. Goals are massively needed. And I do want Harry Kane. One, for my club, we need the goals. And I think we can challenge next year with a player like him and others. But on top of that, I do worry about the Glazonomic side of things, and then missing out on other areas. So I do get it from both sides. I really do. Staying with Man United, there was another story that's come out today, and I think this was an interesting one that supposedly, and it isn't just Man United, there's also a bit of Arsenal thrown into this as well. The talk around Mason Mount joining or favouring United and wanting to move away. Some are stating that it is a ploy from his agent to try and get Chelsea to continue to increase their offer. I'm going to go to David first on this. Do you think this is Mount trying to get a better deal at Chelsea, or are you of the belief that he is going to leave this summer from Chelsea and join a Premier League rival, whether it's Man United or whether it's Liverpool, maybe Arsenal? Where's your head at with this deal?
I could see it both ways. I know it's a really bad answer to the question, but I could see it going both ways. Like, I wouldn't. Again, people know me. I personally wouldn't mind him going too much. I don't particularly rate him as highly as other people do. He's all right. He's not worth the money that's been touted for him. I wouldn't pay him. I wouldn't even go close to him for 300k a week. Not even close. Even if he bounces back next season, he's still not worth 300k a week. Would he go? If he's going to go somewhere, I reckon he'd probably go Man United more than Arsenal, just because if people truly believe he's like a proper Chelsea fan and blah blah blah, Arsenal is kind of a bit of like more of a rival, I'd say, than Man United. Like, going to another London club's probably not the best thing in the world for his image at Chelsea. But I mean, if he goes, please 80 mil, I'd love it, because I need to improve my squad in other areas. It'd be great. It'd be great. I'd love to improve my squad.
Dave, did you just say 80 million?
80 mil, yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Harry Kane has got 1 year left of his contract, and he's going for.
But Harry Kane is a legend in the Premier League.
Hold on, Mo. There's English tax.
Yeah, it's laughable, Mo. It's laughable. It's actually laughable.
No. Do you think I'm joking, Mo?
The sad part is that you're not joking, bro.
I'm not joking. The way the
Unfortunately,
market's going. Okay, let me put it to you like this: if Mason Mount played for another club, would Chelsea drop 80 million pounds? Would Todd Bowley have dropped 80 mil on someone?
Well, Chelsea are idiots. Yes, Chelsea are idiots. Not everybody is
Mo,
idiot.
you're acting like there aren't other owners that wouldn't be willing to do this.
Some of them, but
I don't know what's going on at Bayern Munich right now. But if Thomas Tuchel stays and he's like, you know what, I really want to bring Mason Mount, those new guys over there, they might say, you know what, let's bring him over. Musiala worked out from England. Let's bring over Mason Mount. 70 mil, bosh, take it.
Think about that, David. Is I think if there is a manager that will work with Mason Mount, it's Mauricio Pochettino. This is it.
Yeah,
He had one good season. He had one good season at Chelsea, one excellent season. We had double digits goals and assists. He was the catalyst of everything.
Whoa! Let's back it up a second. The catalyst.
Okay, he wasn't your best player that season. Didn't he win the best player?
No, he wasn't.
Didn't he win player of the season? Didn't he win fan player of the season?
That is Fugazi.
You didn't vote for him, but other fans did.
That's Fugazi to me. The way the fans.
So not you.
Man.
See,
no, Mo, you ain't, mate. Mo, you ain't know. I've been on this case since day one. You don't know me. Like I've been saying.
But that's why you asking for 80 million. The way you spoke about Mason Mount on this show, this channel for 3 years, you should be asking for about 8 pence.
No. But you see, I was told I was wrong, so I'm going off the base of everybody.
So now you're going based on the fans.
So when the fans voted for him to be Player of the Year, he has nothing to do with it. But when the fans are saying he's worth 80 million, he's agreeing. So he picks and chooses what to agree with.
I want to ask a question here.
Yes,
if Wesley Fofana,
Koulibaly,
if Raheem Sterling, if Enzo Fernandez, if these guys make 250 plus a year, why Mason Mount, who is an offensive player that has a resale value in the future, he's one that has resale value, he's young, if he improves, you're definitely going to sell him for much more money, should not make 250 plus a year? I don't get it from Chelsea Football Club. How are you paying other players without resale value that much money, and you refuse to pay Mason Mount that much money? If he's going to work under a coach like Mauricio Pochettino, and you want to sell him to a rival club that probably are not willing to pay that much money, 50 million, including bonuses for him, I think that's not a lot of money for Mason Mount, based on the prospect he is, based on the future he might have. I see it as a loose situation for Chelsea, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Go on, Bran.
From an Arsenal perspective, I hope it all goes left and Chelsea offer him an 8-year contract, like they have done with the rest of their players.
I did say
not for you at Arsenal, then, Bran. Not for you.
I did say
definitely not for me. We need players of the top tier. Mason Mount is not top tier.
I said in the chat
for having standards.
that Mason Mount makes more sense in the 8 role than Declan Rice does for Arsenal. And I'll die on that hill. It makes way more sense. This whole Rice is going to play 8. I'm not sure if we're going to get into it, but to me, that makes no sense. If you're going to do 8 role, Mason Mount should go there above Declan Rice.
Yeah, I mean, we're always going to get onto Arsenal a little bit later. There is some talk that Mount and Decker's they're best mates. Maybe they're talking. Maybe they want to be at the same football club. Brandon, you know what I mean? Might both end up at Arsenal. You know what I mean? Bit of Laurel and Hardy and Deck. Do you know what I mean? Morecambe and Wise, a little double act.
Mm,
I mean?
maybe
Imagine
not
the
for me
social
though.
media
Dale, not for me.
Liverpool linked
I
with him,
think
though. JJ, Liverpool linked with him. Now
Yeah.
United. Again, are you happy that other clubs now seemingly are winning this, according to the media, winning this race for Mason Mount? Or are you thinking he's a Klopp player?
Yeah, I mean, like, I agree. He is a type of Klopp player. I don't necessarily like. I would have him at the club, 100%. I would have him. If you look at our midfield, he'd still be one of our better midfielders. It says a lot about Liverpool's midfield. Is that the best Liverpool can do? I wouldn't like to think so, but maybe currently it is. I mean, we're in the Europa League. Yeah, I mean, there's questions of obviously us getting certain other midfielders that we'll obviously touch on later on, but nothing's guaranteed right now, and we need bodies in the midfield. And I think if there's any player, if there's any manager that can go and get a tune out of someone like Mason Mount, as Mo said, then yeah, it will. I mean, Poch is one, Klopp is another one as well that I think could do really well with Mount. Is he going to be the world beater? I don't think so. But I mean, look, worse things have happened. I mean, we signed Gini Wijnaldum from Newcastle, and no one really thought he was anyone, and turned out to be a really important player. So I would have him. Will I cry if he goes to United? Not really. But it would only frustrate me if Mount was the number one target for Liverpool and we didn't get him. Then that would be a problem for me, because the club have geared all their efforts towards getting a player, and then we don't get him. It means that now we're going into plan B, C's, D's, and E's, and that's just when it starts to go all left. But yeah, I mean, look, I think he's a good player. I think he's, to a certain extent, I do think he's underrated. I do think he's underrated in terms of what he's doing. I think he's in a poor Chelsea team, and I think if he was at a different team, he'd be much better. I think the slander, I think there is an agenda against him. But as I said, he's not a world beater. He's not anything amazing. But I think he's better than some people are making out.
It's not
But
an
is he
agenda.
great, Jerry? Is he great?
Underrated.
Pardon?
Is he great? That's what I mean. Like you said, underrated. Is he great? Is he the one that will take you to the next level at all?
No. I don't think he's the one that's going to take you to the next level. But as I said, if you look at Liverpool's midfield, he does take Liverpool's midfield to the next level, because our midfield is dire, it's trash, it's garbage. Is he going to go and take City's midfield to the next level? Of course not. But what I'm saying is I think he's good. People say that he's crap and he's trash and he's garbage. I think in that regard, yeah, I think he's been underrated. I think there is an agenda against that. He's terrible. He's this. He's this. He's that. I think he's a decent player. I think he could be a very good kind of 6, 7 out of 10 type of player. If he came, for example, to Liverpool and offered us what Milner did, right, and those types of levels of performances, that would be a success. Like in terms of for what Liverpool need. So that's what I'm talking about. I don't think he's going to go and move the needle in any way in terms of making us league challengers. He's not going to be our answer to De Bruyne, of course not. But is he someone that Liverpool need right now? Yeah, considering our midfielders, there's a lot of midfielders that could come to Liverpool. So do you know what I mean?
I think you're literally saying what Terry started saying. I think he is someone who's not going to offer you what 60, 70 million will offer you in this market. You can go buy way better players. The reason why Chelsea should give him the contract is he's free. He's literally free for them. You don't have to pay money for this guy unless they can sell him for 60, 70 million, which is I don't think they will. They should just offer him the contract and wait until he develops and sell him for more money than this. Because now,
however, you could end up in a situation with when clubs have a Adama Traore and it's 50, 60 mil, and you hold on to him and go wait for him to develop, and then we can't even sell him. You could end up in. Obviously, you won't because he's English, but you know what I'm saying.
Fans are, of course, entitled to opinions. That's what the terrace exists for. I think there is this almost. He isn't going to be KDB. He isn't going to be Bruno Fernandes. He isn't going to be one of the best attacking midfielders in the league. He isn't going to do that. So that's why when I hear 60, 70, 80 millions, I'm like, no. But if you pick him up for 40 million, if you can pick him up for 40 million pounds and he's not your main guy, he's part of your squad, I think there's a decent player in there. And the reason I say that is because Klopp and Poch and Ten Hag and Arteta and Tuchel all rate him and want him. And I'm not suggesting we shouldn't have opinions, but there's got to be something decent about him if that caliber of manager all want him. There must be a player in there, especially in the modern day system where pressing is important, running is important. And I'm not suggesting, again, I think people go, but we need more players that play like De Jong. As a United fan, I agree. That's why if he's our only midfielder we buy this summer, I'm fuming. If you buy Frankie de Jong or Declan Rice and Mason Mount to add to our midfield this summer, I'm quite happy with that. Personally, I'm happy.
Terry,
with
great
Yeah, he's
example. Great example, quick one. Morgan Gibbs White, right? In the summer when he left to go to Nottingham Forest for 40 odd million, no one sat there and was like, wow, like what a great signing pickup that is. I was saying they've overpaid. Whereas now, right now, you look at it and you're like, wow, that was a good signing from them. Now, he hasn't gone and he hasn't proven, like he's had a good end to the season, but he hasn't proven he's some world beat or whatever. But you can see his importance in that Nottingham Forest team. If you could go and get a Mason Mount, as you said, for 40 million, and he gives you those 7, 8 out of 10 performances that you can rely on, or 6, 7 out of 10 performances, then that's still a good buy. I'm not saying by all means splash 100 or 80 million on or 60 million on Mount, like especially with a last year. That just doesn't make any sense. I think you have to be opportunistic with this type of signing. It's not like the Kane one where it's like that moves the needle, so you pay the money because you're going to get guaranteed success. It's not that. But if Mount came to Liverpool for 40 million, I don't think anyone's sitting there thinking, I don't think
Chelsea. Listen, I would take him for 40 million.
I don't think Chelsea would sell him for 40 million.
But that's the issue.
That doesn't make sense. For me, if Chelsea would, if Chelsea would sell him for 40 million, then
that's what the debate's about. He's worth being in someone's squad, but it's how much you're paying for him. And again, what he eats into a budget. If you're talking 80 millions, no, you're talking 40, 45 in today's market. When you look at the price of a Gibbs White,
that's a squad player price.
The price of a Tyrone Mings, yeah, exactly. We've got some super chats here. First one says, Terry, don't tell me you're scared of the price tag if it's back Kane. If you're serious about winning, if you're serious about winning, pay Levy and behave like a big club. Stop penny pinching. Yeah, we have the smoky settings. We have the Glazers. So it's not about me worrying about penny pinching. It's me worrying they will penny pinch and not fill holes. As I've said, if we had a bottomless pit, no debt, then I wouldn't be worried about any of it, my friend. So yeah, it's not my penny pinching, it's the Glazers. London Cowboys need money over privilege, is what Anthony says here. He also says to you, David, 80+ million for Mount is Bowley's football knowledge. Is what he said to you there. Nabil says Mount, take English tax minus English tax, and he's a max 30 million euro player, is what Nabil says. Sorry, already done that one. This here says Mo, you can research before waffling. Our wage bill is down 30% from last year. Our signings from Jan onwards are on incentive contracts. Waffler is what DJ calls you, Mo.
I'm just reading the wage bill that is from 3 websites. Before you call me a waffler, just go. It's a public knowledge, my friend. If you can read and you went to school, just go and read the wage bill. It's simple.
Top 6 should expect their clubs to bridge the gap between City. Do you see that being possible? Well, we'll kind of come back to that one a little bit later as we kind of talk, because we're kind of talking about all the teams. The next club I wanted to speak about, really and truly, is Chelsea. Poch announced today at the club, and as most of us predicted, it was going to be as soon as the season ended. They didn't even, I haven't even seen a goodbye tweet or a thank you tweet to Lampard. Maybe it's happened. I don't follow the account, but I haven't seen it trending or anything. But Poch is in, and of course now there's talk, and very credible talk coming out now that there's a big fight between Chelsea and PSG for Manuel Ugarte, and that Chelsea are really pushing in the last 24 hours to get it done. The player wants the Prem. The Portuguese press say that it could be complete in the next few days and is getting very close. So, David, new manager and a top DM, all kind of linked to your club and progressing quite quickly as of now. How do you feel about it all?
I'm quite positive about everything right now. Like, as I've said before, I literally didn't watch a game for weeks on end. I watched a couple. Right, and I was like, I'm not depressing my day for this. This is not worth it. So yeah, season's over, and now we can look forward. And as I've said, the signings we made after January have made sense. The signings before haven't. And this one to me again, I haven't watched this player. I'm gonna hold my hands up. Never watched this guy play football before, but from what I can see, it makes sense as to why we're trying to sign him. He's a defensive midfielder. Sort of can progress the ball quite well, passes quite well, has good defensive numbers, which is exactly what Enzo needs to start playing a bit further forward. Because regardless of what anyone has said, Enzo Fernandez is a good football player. You may have said we've overspent and blah blah blah. He is a fantastic football player, and he has been held back by having people like Conor Gallagher in his midfield just constantly messing everything up. So Ugarte can fit that profile. Pochettino is a good manager. What makes it even better is that he was a Spurs manager and they're all crying about it. That's great. If there's one thing that's good out of him, he rattles Spurs fans. Good thing as well, 2 years with an option of a third. That shows that the club's learning. They're not offering out 8-year contracts, 5, 6 years, two with a +1. If it doesn't go well, you can shift him on. It doesn't cost you 50 mil. So again, I can see where my club is progressing. And people love going like, oh, Bowley doesn't know anything about football and he's done this, he's done that, and blah, blah, blah. And yes, that is all true. But Bowley is not running the club on the footballing side anymore. So for me, it's a brand new slate. We go into next year, we see what happens. But this is a good start to the summer. It's a good manager appointment. We'll see what happens.
Who's the new director of football?
Win Stanley, Igbali, and the actual director of football is, I can't remember his name. He came from like Leipzig or something. I can't exactly remember his name. But
they have like a previous relationship with Poch, or these are just like
no. So what's it? We brought in some boys from Leipzig. Win Stanley comes from Brighton, and Pochettino obviously is just ex-Spurs manager. There's no link between them, but I'm sure they would have had conversations about what they want to do and so on. So, again, for me, I look at players like Badiashile, I look at Madueke, even though he's not had a good end to the season. I look at players like Mudryk, and you can see there are football players there. You like I know Mudryk against Man United. Did he have a shocker? Yes, and he missed like 2 or 3 sitters. But if you're going to sit here and tell me the guy can't play football at all, I think you're wrong. I think he's just lacking confidence and had an awful manager, and the circumstances were awful, and we'd lost 7 games before that, and so on and so forth. I think if you give him a proper manager, proper coaching, get him in a better squad that's a bit more cohesive, you might actually start seeing a football player there. So, yeah.
So you think, Dave, you think Pochettino is like a step in a process? He's not your final coach. You think he's there to develop these players, but he's not the one that is going to take you now to the next level.
No, the thing is, he could.
You don't know that, Mo.
No, we don't know that. He could be the final coach. He may not be. However,
but was he before at Spurs?
No, hold on. Don't do that.
But again, the situation he's going to have at Spurs, the situation he's going to have at Chelsea are very different.
Yeah.
Spurs, he was trying to make a club that, let's be honest, is low top 6, probably about to become 7th or 8th, trying to make them champions. The Chelsea are, regardless of how bad we've been this year, we still are one of the top clubs in the country. So his job.
I'm talking about the players, Dave.
But I'm talking the players that we have. When you look at players like Reece James, when you look at Wesley Fofana, when you look at Enzo Fernandez, there are players there where it's like, okay, you can see what their squad's trying to do. We have to plug our squad in key areas, and Ugarte is plugging one of those areas in terms of the DM. We definitely need a goalkeeper. We definitely need a striker, and I'd say we probably need another attacking midfielder as well. Those, for me, apart from the DM, those are the other 3 key positions for me to improve. But Pochettino, we don't know whether he could be the final guy, but we won't know that until further down the line. But the option of 2 and 1 is the right thing.
I would say this, Mo. The question mark over him is the same question mark over Ten Hag, same question mark over Arteta, same question mark. Obviously, Poch is one of them. There's another manager. He's managing one of the top teams now. I forget his name. Obviously, Eddie Howe. There'll be that question mark over. There's another name. He's managing one of our clubs, one of the big ones. Who is it? Who am I forgetting?
What?
Ryan Mason.
You mentioned all of them in the top 6 now.
Yeah.
It's only Pep and Jurgen Klopp left.
All 3. Maybe I am thinking about.
I think that's all.
But they've all got that question mark over their heads because none of them have won a top 4 league, and none of them have won a Champions League. So they all have that question mark over them. And what I said in my video earlier on about Poch coming in, 100% Chelsea. Again, the precursor is they cut the fat from the squad. They get rid of 15 odd players, which I think they'll do. If they do that with Poch as their manager, they're in the top 4 race guaranteed. And I believe he can coach a team to make them title challengers because he got Spurs with less resource into title races.
And this is why he's asking that, though.
Whether he can get them over the line or not is another question. But again, everyone's just got to give their own opinions on it.
So the reason I asked that, Terry,
I don't
think finish it. Go ahead.
Yeah, go on, mate. Do you think he can? I'd rather get your opinion on it rather than you.
For me, they had better options in people that already won trophies in the big leagues. In Nagelsmann, and Luis Enrique. These people already did it. You agree with their coaching ways or not, but they did it. They already done it. And Chelsea Football Club, I have known them as club that get managers that want things, they get them over the line, and maybe it doesn't work in a year or two, and they move them. I don't think, in my opinion, that Pochettino would be the final product at Chelsea, and I think they don't have the patience with him to develop the club. I don't think they will have a patience with him to wait until he gets the final product. I don't read the future, as you say, but I'm looking at the signs. The signs is there's a Nagelsmann that won the Bundesliga. There's a Luis Enrique that worked before with players and won the league before at Barcelona. And you chose Pochettino, who at Spurs developed him, was absolutely fantastic with them, but he couldn't get them over the line, even though he had 2 chances to do that.
No, Mo, he didn't. No, Mo, I don't like this. I feel like I always have to step in and defend Poch. And what I don't like about that is that people neglect the fact that this guy had 2 years with 0 signings, and he took him to the Champions League final. If any of us over here had a manager, I'll tell you something. If Ten Hag got us that Champions League final, and we lost it, and then the next summer we didn't sign anyone, I promise you, Terry's gonna have one of those videos again, like after that Brentford game where he was ranting and screaming at the ownership. Terry, you're laughing because you know he'd be doing that. Because to get that Champions League final with that Spurs team and losing to Liverpool, yeah, we know they were gonna lose, but taking that Spurs team all the way to the Champions League final and getting no backing, and then people want to say, well, he was a yes man, this and that. No one ever sits there and says, oh, what would have happened if he started getting the backing? What if the next summer they went out and they actually improved that team because they had a project to sell? Look at us. We're a team in London. We have this amount of money. We have this stadium. We made a Champions League final. We're always in the top 4 every season. We can attract a couple good players. No one ever talks about that. They just talk about he never won anything with Spurs. But yet again, when did Spurs ever win anything? It's just like it's such a contradicting argument that I don't like that Poch gets all the time. You know, and as Dave said, this guy is a good manager. He's proven that he's good with younger players. He's developed teams before, and he will develop this team. And will he get him over the line? That's an opinionated thing. But I don't want to use that Spurs thing against him so much because these weren't normal circumstances. Not getting backing for 2 summers is not regular circumstances. Todd Bowley is crazy, as we've seen. So if he sees his team going far, competing for leagues and making Champions League finals, and even if they don't win, he's not going to do a Levy. He's going to be like, listen, you've got me this far. Who do you want next season? There you go, 100 million, 200 million, 300 million. He's going to try to back him with any finances available for him at that time. But that's just like it's a weak argument for me, and I think it's very unfair on Poch's name. You know, Nagelsmann hasn't really proved that much in Europe anyways. You know, he won the Bundesliga with Bayern, and guess what? They've won 11 in a row. So I'm pretty sure you can hire one of us next season, and we'll do a very good job because they've been dominating that league for over a decade. Okay, so I don't know. I don't think that's fair on Poch at all to keep saying that.
I hear what you're saying there. I've had some confirmation from a journalist I follow, Rob. Surname is Rob Pratley, who has stated that Manuel Ugarte has agreed personal terms with Chelsea and with the agent, and they are now just working on the fee. They are looking to do there is still this report that they're looking to offer a bit more than the buyout clause and put a structure to it so that they're able to sort of essentially beat off other teams, offering more than the buyout clause. But the player has agreed to join Chelsea in terms of personal terms. It's now between Sporting and Chelsea to get this done. Who knows much about this young man, Ugarte? Because I've read a lot about him since Chelsea have been linked, because obviously we have to speak about him. And he is very well touted, very well regarded. I did see him play against Arsenal this year and against Tottenham, and he was very good in those games as well. But a DM is massively needed at Chelsea. They've agreed the personal terms. It does appear that, again, Chelsea are looking to a new manager and get some business done really early. What are you saying about this young Daniel? Because obviously I know the best manager in your lifetime has now gone to Chelsea. Now they're linked with a very good DM to make their team better. Talk to me.
Yeah, look, Chelsea being linked with a DM, I'm not really surprised. They really did need one. There's a few positions that you could tell Chelsea need. But this player, Ugarte, I think he's a good player. He's very strong as well, and he could drop back and almost become another center back when you need him to. I'm not going to sit here and say that I watch Portuguese league every weekend, but I watch a bit of him when he was playing in the Champions League, and he does look like a really good player. He does have a ball on him as well, which it's great when a DM has that vision on him. I think he could definitely help this Chelsea team, but will the deal get done? I think we're going to have to wait and see. The Chelsea financial situation is a question always, especially with Bowley. You never know what he's gonna end up doing. So I'm just intrigued to see how Chelsea are gonna spend this summer. Are they gonna go and do the same thing they did in January, spend 600 million? Are they gonna be more controlled and just buy in certain areas where Pochettino's asking for? But no, I think Ugarte is a really good player, and I think he would help Chelsea massively.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
I'm
mean-
looking at it with the Ugarte one, and for
Mo,
me,
you're
it's-
muted. Mo, you're
no,
muted.
you're muted, by the way. Or the Ugarte one, and is that Poch's signing? I think that's the most important thing. I think if you're going to go down this route with Pochettino, I think if
So
you're going
apparently,
build,
That's a good
Poch,
question.
I heard that Poch has said himself that. So I can't remember who the other player was, but
Mm.
apparently Chelsea wanted to go for that player. It might have been Caicedo,
so yeah,
but
Chelsea,
Poch himself has said he wants Ugarte.
yes. So the two
Okay.
journalists I've spoken to today privately have said to me that he is Poch's priority. This is he was already the Chelsea manager, Poch, for weeks. They just didn't announce it. They've been working on his deal. So yeah, he's a Poch player, 100%.
yeah. So that's a good thing then. At least it means that he's getting that first building block in there. And as you said, Terry, DM's really, really, really important. Liverpool are linked with him for a bit, very, very early on. So I mean, how good is he? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Is he from a Liverpool perspective? I didn't think he was gonna like change Liverpool's. Like he's not gonna come in and revolutionize Liverpool's midfield and make us like stronger to defend. But Chelsea are in a bit of a different predicament. Yeah, if that's Poch's signing, then that's a good thing because he's the type of manager that's going to need 3-4 years to kind of get this team up and running again and challenging or competing consistently. So if that's the first piece in that jigsaw and that's the player that he wants, then I mean Chelsea have done the right thing. Then that they're being proactive in the market. Someone behind the scenes is probably got the head screwed on now and isn't just reacting to what this team wants this player, so we're just going to sign him. Just signing a Caicedo for the sake of it. It'll probably. I mean, we'd have to go and wait and see how good of a signing that is. But the good thing about it from a Chelsea perspective is the new manager is selecting his players. He's not in a Potter situation where he's just been getting players dumped on him and being told, "Yeah, work with this," and they might or might not be signing. So yeah.
My only worry about it is it's another non-Premier League signing. They had too many of those last season. Whereas, like, sometimes it's very good to have a good mix of European players and not European. I know he's Uruguayan, but like teams from Europe and teams from the players from teams from the Premier League because it gives you that chemistry. They had so many signings last season. I don't think they've signed a single player outside of Sterling that came from a Premier League team that had already Premier League experience, and it really showed that season. Because they were just horrendous. Not only were they bad on the pitch, you just couldn't see any experience of handling these situations before. And that's the only thing that would worry me.
I don't think that our season is indicative of how many Premier League players who have played that we saw. I think that is such a minute point in what happened this year.
It's
such a minute point.
No, I'm not saying it is.
It's like I don't even think that's a
no.
conversation.
I don't think it is. We all know what the real issue was. I think it would have been not as bad though if some of these players weren't as just young as they were and with like literally no experience because you were playing new starting 11s with players that played in the Ukrainian league and the French league and all that. It definitely helps sometimes to have players that come in with experience.
They have so many players. They could have easily fielded players that had played in the Premier League for years and players that had won the Champions.
That's what I'm saying. No, I'm not saying that's the reason at all. I'm not going to dismiss that Chelsea was just a disaster last
We had Frank Lampard. I'm just saying who had a 10% win rate in the Premier League this year. 10%. 10%. When you do 10% win rate,
I heard it was 9%. So don't round it up.
This is why though. When I look at this signing. It's a Poch signing. When I look at the manager they're bringing in, I think they're going to cut the fat. I believe they're learning from their mistakes. It's been great watching Chelsea. As a rival, it's been great seeing Chelsea foul because it's one less team. Forget about where they are in the league because them being bad doesn't help you win games. But when I knew we had Chelsea's second to last game to secure Champions League football, I knew it was a win. We have all known in the last however many months, playing Chelsea was a guarantee of a win. It's over now. With Poch coming in, Todd Bowley stepping away, they're going to deflate this squad. They're going to buy 3 or 4 players. And by the way, it's going to cost them £42 million. That's nothing. He's going to cost them probably 10 to 15 million pounds compared to what someone's going to pay for Mason Mount. And
we're gonna sell Gallagher for like 45 mil.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that Chelsea are going to get rid of a lot of players. They're going to balance the book slightly. And when you've got that smaller squad and the new manager, and listen, whether Poch is a good enough manager to win the Champions League or Premier League, he's definitely an elite enough coach to get them playing brilliant football. And I think that they're going to be a dangerous outfit next year, this Chelsea team. They're this year of them being easy to beat and almost a guarantee of 3 points. That's done. Of course, teams will beat them next year because only one team has ever played a Premier League season without losing football matches. But yeah, look, I think this is a good signing. And the way they've even done this deal, they didn't announce him too early. They've done it quick. I feel like Chelsea are going to try and get 2 or 3 signings in through that door quickly. So there's a really good preseason. And it appears on paper, and we have to see how they follow through because they made a lot of big promises on paper last year, the new Chelsea owners. But it appears they're stepping away. They're letting the football people make the football decisions. And as soon as the team starts behaving like that, it becomes an issue. And the thing is about the Prem-proven players, all of Man United's best signings this season weren't from the Prem.
But there's a way to go back at this. Ten Hag worked already with Lisandro, Anthony, and Eriksson. Was when he said when he signed him at the time, he said it's because he plays the Ajax way because he was an I don't know if he was an Ajax academy product, but he did play a few years in Ajax, so he gets that philosophy football that he wants, and he also played in the Premier League. So he had 3 players that he recruited based on familiarity, either with him or the league, whereas like Chelsea just had none. And that's what I'm saying. I keep saying I'm not putting it down to this only with being said.
When I look at Man City,
if they're already listening to Poch and they're going to go, right, we won't sign Caicedo, we're going to sign your guy. That's already a step in the right direction.
Poch
has also been given a lot of control over which of the 15 odd players they need to get rid of will go. So if he says it won't be Enzo because Enzo's really good, but if he turns around and says I don't want X, Y, and Z, Bowley and co had right. We'll take a hit on that, even though we've only signed him in the last year.
I don't want Loftus-Cheek. I don't want Gallagher. I don't want
my only question for Chelsea fans are you going to actually have patience for this rebuild?
We had patience. No. Do you know what this thing is? Yeah, we had. I don't think you understand the amount of patience Chelsea fans had with Potter was crazy. You guys don't understand. If that no. If what would have happened to Potter? If it was under Abramovich, that man would not have made it all the way to the second leg of Borussia Dortmund.
Abramovich would have never did that to Bowley.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, though.
I had so much patience for. I was there, like, you know what? It's bad, but I'm hoping it can get better. I was not Potter out like from earlier. I wasn't. But when it's like, oh, I've got 10 points in the past 20 games, I've got to look at it and go, bro, I can't even back you. It's criminal. It's a criminal offense.
Abramovich would have never done that. I'll tell you something. Abramovich would have never hired a new manager on October 7th. October fucking 7th, this guy got the job. Who does that? 7 days after the transfer window closed, this guy got a job. I have never seen that in my life.
Yeah, but this is because the guy made this. He didn't follow through his promises. He's what they initially promised is we're going to keep the current board and football decision makers in, and we'll slowly transition them out. They didn't. They got rid of everybody, and then they were left with nobody who knew how to run the football club. That is why Tuchel was challenging them. They didn't like his challenge, so they moved him on. But they have, and this is where I would say my concern as a rival comes from. They've openly and publicly admitted they got that stuff wrong. That's like in life in general, when someone can sit there and go, "That was a mistake. I made a mistake." When a man admits they made a mistake, generally you know they're trying to change. So. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We've got some super chats here to do. First one says, Potts is pushing for Ugarte, just waiting for the green light. Look at Caicedo or Lavia. Second midfield would be up to Poch. Plus, with this clear out, what that is about to happen, I think Chelsea may surprise people, is what Nathaniel says. I agree with you. I think you are going to have a good season next year, my friend. We'll come back to the flops a little bit later. What the F? Poch won 3 trophies at PSG. Your point?
That's PSG though.
It's going to be intriguing. Is NLF the most scary song in the Premier League? What is that? Oh, North London Forever. Not if you ask Lee Gunner, he hates it. I don't find any song scary, really. White is down on the top 6 show. Are you the Villa fans out tonight celebrating getting in Europe?
Well, I mean, we've got a Chelsea fan on here, and you finished 12th. So.
Hey, respect, man. Show some respect.
David did nothing for that.
Bro.
Show
I'm just
some
saying, bro.
respect.
If you're gonna call out Tottenham fans, you gotta call out Chelsea fans. I'm just saying.
Mo's on it. Mo's on here. His team ain't even in our league. So I mean, it said this here says a question for David. Potts keeps falling short when it matters most. Are you confident he will win Chelsea the EPL or Champions League?
Depends on who we
That's
sign.
that question.
Depends on who we sign, genuinely. Because if I give him the same squad as this year, he's not going to win anything. And I don't think that's a level. I don't think that's a knockdown on Poch. I think that's a knockdown on our owners more than anything. If you I think that question. Ask me that question in 3 months, then I will give you a proper answer because I know what's going on.
That is a fair point there. See, Ugarte was a player that Liverpool wanted. Liverpool look like they're closing in on Mac Allister. Where else do you need to strengthen? And do you think FSG are going to get that done for you, JJ, this summer?
Where do you need to strengthen? At the back, we need a right back. We need centre backs. We need midfielders, plural. We need cover for a right winger. Do I trust FSG to do it? No. Do I trust Klopp to be quite ruthless with players? No, I don't. So I don't know. Even this Mac Allister deal, I'm not until it's done. It's not done for me. I know. Look, he's crying after the game and he's hugging. Do you know what I mean, the players and stuff after Brighton's last game? But look, he could be going anywhere. I don't. It's difficult for me from just like if from an objective standpoint to see why Mac Allister would want to come to Liverpool if there's Champions League teams in for him. So if a Man City are in for him or a United were in for him, why would he come to Liverpool? Maybe I'm underestimating the pool of Liverpool, but it just doesn't make sense to me because I don't necessarily feel Liverpool will be back winning leagues again next season. I think we'll be challenging for the top four, but I think there will be a period where we need to reestablish ourselves again. So yeah, we've got a lot of work to do. And do I trust FSG to? Do I trust every area of the squad to be plugged and filled? No way. No. I do think we're going to be lacking in one department or another. It might be backup for a right winger. We might not go in and get a right back. But I do see a couple midfielders coming in and potentially a centre back as well. There's talk of Matip might be leaving this season, might be sold this season. So someone to come in for him. Of course, look, Konate's been great, but he's quite injury prone. Joe Gomez, obviously, is injury prone as well and hasn't been good enough this season. So yeah, we've got a lot of surgery to do, man. We've got a lot of surgery to do in this squad. So yeah.
But if one thing we learned from these last 7-8 games at Liverpool, that Jurgen Klopp isn't stubborn as he used to be, and he changed the way he plays football, and it proved to be beneficial for Liverpool. So I think I was the one that said that this guy's never going to change. He's never going to change, and he just changed in a heartbeat.
How did we change? Quick question: what do we change in how we
tactically?
play
You change the way you play football. You change the way. He actually used.
Sorry, my bar Trent coming inverted, right? Tactically,
I think Mo Salah was a little bit going back to the line again, starting from wide again, leaving that central area to the midfielders. Curtis Jones now is running into the area, leading the line up front. He was higher than Gakpo. I thought there was a lot of change in the Liverpool, the way you play, even from the back. I thought Konate now moved to the line. Like, you changed a lot. And 7 years at Liverpool, you played the same way for 7 years. It was great, right? You reached Champions League finals, won the league, you broke Man City once, but now it was the time to change, and he changed. So I'm thinking that there is a little bit of positive at the end of that season. Yes, you didn't make Champions League, but I see a little bit of positive in Jurgen Klopp, because Jurgen Klopp is the one, if there's a manager in the Premier League that can challenge with minimum investments and players that are unknown, it's Jurgen Klopp. It's just history says that.
I agree. My issue is if I was to go and say to you, what are Liverpool's deficiencies? So if Inter Milan were facing Liverpool right now, regardless of who we sign, what area would you target?
if it was before these 7 games, I would say that Jurgen Klopp was trying to do the same thing with an aging squad that is not performing.
No, I hear you.
Right
I'm
now,
saying, no.
so I'm going to tell you right now, you need a right center back, a right
Yes.
center back that can
Yes.
play right back and can play center back. So that will allow Trent to be inside like John Stones, like Rico Lewis when he plays for them, like Zinchenko at Arsenal when he comes from the left. You need another striker that will score goals. Just a number 9 to come in sometimes if you need goals. I know you didn't have that with Firmino. Now Gakpo is doing that false 9 really well. You need a number 9 that will score at least 15 goals if the wingers are not scoring. Because remember, Mane and Salah used to score the goals. Now Mane's not there. Is Luis Diaz going to give you the same goals as Mane? And Salah, can he keep scoring at that rate at the same time? You said you need a backup for the right winger. So that means you need 2 midfielders at least, because I think Curtis Jones is okay. I don't think Fabinho can do the job. You needed an Ugarte for Fabinho. You needed a defensive midfielder to do the Casemiro job, that does the Rodri job. You don't have that. So you need at least 4 players. But the thing about these 4 players, 3 of them will be starters for your team. And do you have the money? I'm not sure.
Well, do we have the money is one thing. Are they going to be all implemented, and does that ever work? Do you ever go and sign 4 or 5 players? They all come into the starting lineup because every
Did you know that? Did you know that with Salah? Did you know that with Van Dijk, who came and changed the way you played right away?
But that was one player that came in that season. We didn't sign four players in one window.
You signed Alisson, Van Dijk.
Van Dijk in January. Mo Salah.
No, but I'm saying in like within about a 6 month period, you signed
the same
about 3
season,
starters.
Yeah, the difference is we went and done that where the midfield was there was a spine of the midfield, the forward line was already ticking, and those were incremental changes whilst the spine was strengthening. What Liverpool are doing right now, you just mentioned to me, we need a new DM. You mentioned 2 midfielders. You then said we also need a number 9 now. After we've got 5 forwards. You're essentially saying
can I interject and say that Trent? Can I interject and say Trent was that season was his beginning. So Trent, I consider Trent that season was a new player for you. He didn't play before, did he? Before that season that he reached a Champions League final, that was Trent's first season being integrated in the squad. Did he play before?
When we reached the final, when we got to Kiev, when we had Karius in goal, when we had Dejan Lovren at the back, that was his first season.
That was Salah's first season. That was season. That was Van Dijk's first season.
That was Van Dijk in January.
Van Dijk in January, Salah. I can't remember who
after. Alisson came in the summer after. Van Dijk came in the January.
The only one I don't remember was Fabinho. I don't remember when he came in.
Going back to the point.
Fabinho didn't come in until January. What I'm trying to say is that Liverpool were a team that was already on a trajectory. So being able to go in, for example, Arsenal going and buying 3 or 4 players incrementally over the next 6 months to strengthen the team, that makes sense because you're creating a spine and you can have success there. Arsenal can sign 3 or 4 players and that might move the needle in terms of Arsenal winning the league or not winning the league. Depends on what players you're signing. Liverpool are in a situation right now where Van Dijk is older and he's aging. You have Alisson, that's great. Salah, of course, guaranteed goals, but you just don't know with players like that. He's probably as close you can get to guaranteed goals, but is he going to be the Salah of 4 years ago? You just don't know. You just don't know, right? If you just said about Fabinho needing to go, you're now asking 3 or 4 players to come in this window to all pop off, and every one bit of them is going to be a success. Last season, we signed Carvalho, we signed Nunes. Who else did we sign?
They're not all going to be a success, but that doesn't mean that you don't go out and do it. Because as an example, Man United, we need like 4 as well.
No, I'm not saying go out and do it. I'm saying that's why I'm saying I don't believe Liverpool can go and sign those players and automatically be like, yeah, we're back on top now. We've signed our players. That is a football manager, and now we're going to go and win the league again or challenge. For me, it's just not going to go and work like that.
Of course, it's not guaranteed, but you still have to do it.
Some Liverpool players this year had a bit of a down year as well. I think like Van Dijk will have another year removed from that injury. I think he'll probably be a bit better than he was this year. Robertson will probably be better than he was this year. I think Nunes next year will probably be a bit better this year. So your squad's going to improve in certain areas, which may be able to mask some of the issues that you have.
Maybe so, but this is what I'm saying. We're now relying on. We're now having to go and use the mindset of, oh, okay, Van Dijk only had an off year. It's nothing to do with the fact that he's aging. It's nothing to do with the fact that he might not ever get back to the level that he was. He might become very, very good again, 100%. But that requires Liverpool to be firing on every single cylinder. Now, Salah's going to be firing. Alisson might be firing. What about if those midfielders come in? How about if they don't pop off? How about if they get injured? What if Nunes doesn't get the goals that he might not get? Because right now he plays better off the left than he does down the centre. We've signed a left winger and we're playing him down the middle. We've signed a number 9. He's playing on the left, and that's where he's more effective. And Mo's just said that we need to sign another forward, but we've got 5 forwards. So now, what are we getting rid of one of those forwards?
But because I don't trust Nunes to work.
That's another body that's got to go and have to adapt. And this
Yeah,
season,
but Liverpool won't. I don't think
Liverpool. All these players, they need to gel and they need to bed in. That's not conducive to winning the league.
And I don't think Liverpool are going to go and sign another forward after buying Gakpo and Darwin in the space of the last 12 months. That's probably just not going to be an area that you go.
Diaz now.
It's going to certainly be an interesting one. LFC My Religion says we are Liverpool. JJ Jesus so grim.
What does that mean? What does that mean with Liverpool?
We are Liverpool. We're coming.
But what does that mean? Does that mean that every signing that we make, logically speaking, is going to pop off and it means we win the league? I'm confused. What does that mean with Liverpool? We're laughing at Chelsea for signing so many players, right? And I'm not saying Liverpool don't need to go and do that, but I'm saying gear your expectations accordingly. Don't think that Liverpool sign these players, right? Don't think that Liverpool sign Mac Allister, this person, that player, and we automatically, it's bang on that Liverpool are now back in Champions League finals and 1 point off winning the Prem. It might happen. Of course, it might happen. Anything can happen in football. I don't think Arsenal would be where they were this season. But is that, if you had to go and put your money on it, your life savings on it, would you say, yeah, Liverpool are going to win the league now? Let's be honest.
If I'm Mac Allister, Jerry, I wouldn't sign for Liverpool unless you present me with a good project. I would sign for Man United especially if they change ownership. I'm being honest. If your box office signing is Mac Allister only and you don't present him with a good project, who guarantees that Liverpool make top 4 next year? The guy publicly said, I want to play Champions League football. Yes, Jurgen Klopp is a proven manager, absolutely phenomenal. He's playing world-class players, but the squad is declining. And I think if they don't present a good project for Mac Allister, a World Cup winner, he shouldn't sign for Liverpool. I'm not sure what you think about that.
Like I said, objectively speaking, look, if that was my son or my family member and they wouldn't do, I didn't support Liverpool and they were like, look, I'm signing for this team. I'd be like, look, you shouldn't sign for them because they're not in Champions League. I understand that. But at the same time, if you're talking
JJ's a real one, bro.
Yeah,
a real one.
If you're talking about prestige, right? And you're thinking, you know what? Where can I, after Brighton, Liverpool, can that be the next step before I move on to Real Madrid? If that's his aspirations, and you know that's just always going to happen. Do you know what I mean? That's just the way football works. He might go and look at that and be like, you know what? That's a better bet than going to a team now where I've got to go and play Champions League football. It might not work out for me. He might look at that team, the squad, the fact that the manager's there. Hell, they might be telling him, look, you're going to be the main man for the next 3 or 4, 5 seasons. And maybe that's what he's looking for. So I don't know what project's being presented to him. Do you know what I mean? And maybe they're giving him assurances that, look, if we don't make Champions League and you've had a good season, a team can come in.
But Man United have prestige, Jerry.
We've done that with Suarez before. We've done it with other players. Pardon?
Man United have prestige. You just said prestige, like Liverpool.
Yeah, but
you don't think Man United have prestige?
But that's what I'm saying. But with the ownership situation, with the fact that, do you know what I mean? You just don't. There's no stability right there. Yeah. Whereas right now at Liverpool, you have a manager that's been there for years. You've got an ownership that's been there for years. You've got a team, a squad that's been there for years, and they've got a track record of winning. So it's like, okay, they've won in the past. Maybe I can be the difference maker. And of course, every player's got an ego. They're thinking, I can be the difference maker and I can get them back on track. Otherwise, you don't believe in your ability, especially if you're that type of midfielder. So that's maybe how they're looking at it. But who am I to know?
Yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting one for Liverpool. I think with the right signings, I do think you could be dangerous again next year. But I do completely get your point that maybe some of the players having off years are just because they're past their best and they're aging and they may not get better. Therefore, it could take a couple of seasons to motor on forward. Viewers, let us know what you think and what you feel. Up next, we're going to be talking about Arsenal and their potential move for another Man City player in Cancelo. And in Cancelo. Make sure you hit the like and the share buttons. But up first, we are sponsored today by NordVPN. Just take a little listen to this. The summer is coming, and not only do I want to protect you whilst you're traveling, I want to help save you a little bit of money as well. People want to travel the world, but we can help you save money with your travel expenses, whether that be hotel bookings, flights, package deals, and a whole lot more. Using the NordVPN while searching and shopping online for trips abroad, holidays away, getaways, and much, much more, you can save money by changing your geolocation. Plus, while you're away, you don't need to miss out on any of your favorite shows, TV programs, or sport, as you can still access all of your current apps and subscriptions wherever you are in the world using NordVPN. All you need to do is go to nordvpn.com/football terrace or scan the QR code on the screen now or the features throughout the course of this show. It's always important to protect your data and your information when you're using the internet, whether that's from hackers or whether that's literally big corporations or the government taking, stealing, and selling your detail online. NordVPN protects you from all of that. Plus, as I say, savings on travel, and you can access all your content wherever you are around the world. So go check it out right now. Scan the QR code or click on the link in our description below. For Arsenal looking to go and get Cancelo, another City player you're linked to, Brandon, £70 million is the quote-unquote reported price. What's your thoughts on that, mate?
Another City player, Joe. Another City player, just called as Man City reserves. You know, I'm starting to get a bit worried now that Arsenal are going to release a sky blue kit at some point. Cancelo, that's an interesting one for me. Arguably one of the best attacking fullbacks in world football. However, it's a lot of money. He's clearly upset the apple cart at Manchester City with his antics in the dressing room for whatever reason it may be. So that's another worry as well. And then on top of that, where does that leave us defensively? That's my big issue, because we've already got Zinchenko there, who's more of a midfielder, not very good defensively. And if you've got Cancelo playing on the other side, another player who's not defensively sound, where does that leave us? Could it be that Cancelo is maybe coming in as kind of like I wouldn't say a backup, but maybe a starter for Arsenal, and then you have Zinchenko as the backup on the left-hand side, because I know he can play left and right. He certainly wouldn't be coming into Arsenal to hold the bench, but I don't know, Teo. I don't know how to feel about this one, because he's a top-tier player, and it's 70 million quid, and it's the kind of money that we really need to be spending on players this summer if we're to elevate ourselves. But I kind of have the same fear as what you do with Manchester United. You know, if we go and blow that sort of money on one player, what's going to happen with the rest of the positions within our squad that need filling? And the problem that I have with Arsenal in particular is we need 4 or 5 top signings. We can't afford to go and buy 1 or 2 top signings and then fill in with average players if we're to push on to the next level next season. Because I look at it now, right? We challenged for a league this season, but I don't think it tells the whole story. And as things stand right now, I don't see how Arsenal can compete with Manchester City next season. I genuinely don't. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the way that this season has ended, Manchester City won the league on 89 points. That's the second lowest points tally that they've won the league on in the 5 out of 6 years that they've won the league. So, and then again, you go to Arsenal's start of the season. Our first 19 games, we took 50 points out of 57. Now, you can't really do much better than that. What let us down was the second half of the season, where we only took 34 points. So you have to kind of replicate the first half of the season that we had into the second half of the season if you could to compete with this Man City side. Because I look at their points tally this season, right? I don't think this is the best Man City by any stretch of the imagination at all. In the league in particular. If you look at the way they started the season, it didn't really click massively for them. We was all talking about, you know, with Haaland, he's a great player, he scores goals, but does he really fit the Manchester City system? You know, it wasn't really clicking the way that it has done for the last few months for them. And I just feel like if you're going to compete with Man City and you're going to possibly knock them off their perch and win the league, you're going to have to come up with anywhere between 92 and 98 points in the season. And if you look at Arsenal at the moment, there's so many positions that still need to be, you know, sorted out within the squad. I look at Gabriel Jesus as an example. He's a player who I like a lot, but he don't score enough goals. You know, you can guarantee you 10 to 15 goals in the league a season, but I don't think that's enough. I think you need a striker there that can guarantee you 20, 25. Then you need obviously midfielders as well. And I just think Cancelo, good player and all that, but like again, defensively.
Yeah, I want to bring it back a bit because obviously you went off on about 3 different subjects there, and obviously what that does to the audience is like, right, what we talk. We'll come back to what you do in the overall season. In terms of Cancelo, I want to just go back to him for the panel. Bayern Munich want him. Yes, Man City have had some issues with him in terms of behavior, but I think the only reason Bayern Munich are not going to buy him is because they don't have the money to buy him. Is this rivals looking at this? Is this a no-brainer? Is this the level of player? I mean, this was a guy that was called the best fullback in the world, 6, 7, 8 months ago. Now suddenly Arsenal fans don't want him. Like, what rivals? Should they buy him? Is he not good enough? Good enough for what we're saying?
He's not 70 million. He's not 70 million. That's the thing. I would take Cancelo if I was an Arsenal fan, just not paying 70 million for him. There's a reason he went on loan to Bayern, because City don't want him. And if Bayern want him, I promise you they're not spending 70 million for him. He's not that much. He's 29. There's a guy, I don't know how many teams he's played for so far, but I swear he played for Inter, Juve, City, Bayern, and there was one more team. There's a reason why Valencia. There you go. That's a lot of teams in such a short time, and it just shows you something about this player. You can either look at it, well, he's so good that everyone wants him, or there's a reason why he always leaves a club within 2-3 years. You know, and I just don't think he's 70 million at his age. The more concerning part to me, if I was an Arsenal fan, is why does Arteta keep going for Pep's? I don't want to disrespect him and call him a reject because he is a good player, but he is a reject because he doesn't want him in the club for a reason. There's a reason why he doesn't want him. And why does Arteta always go for the easy solutions? It's like, I've worked with them before, I know them. I'll find a way to convince them to come here because they know me personally, so let's go for him. I never see him going for these same profile players that are playing in bigger, not necessarily bigger teams because City is a big team, but just different teams. He's always going for the easy option, which is like, oh, I can convince them because I worked with them before. That's the thing that would worry me the most. It's like he's cheating off Pep's homework. You know, that's what I always feel with these signings.
Well, I'm the first. I want to be the first one. Yeah, go on.
What other right backs are there in world football that go?
He's not a right back.
He can play both. He can play both.
When has Pep played him on the right?
All the time.
He's played all the time. He's played him on the right.
He always played on the left, bro.
No, he hasn't. Go and check.
Here's my thing with that argument.
He has the ability to play both.
He has the ability to play both, but he always plays him on the left because his best ability is cutting into that midfield and playing that inverted.
Yes, when he
inverted
started
style.
When he first came in, when Walker was out, he was playing on the right.
When Walker was injured, when he was injured versus Madrid, he didn't even trust him to put him on the right side.
That's fair. That's of a reason. I'm saying that.
We'll stop the debate with our facts. In his career, he's played 89 games as left back and 201 games as a right back.
He's a right
and
back.
how many of these 89 are in the last 2 years, Terry? Probably all of them. So in his recent 2 seasons, he's been a left back.
But let's take a look. Just so it takes a while for this screen to load. So this season, 27 at left back. Let's go back to last year and have a little look. Carry on talking. I'll get the numbers for you in a minute.
But you get my point. My point is the last 2 seasons he's been dominating.
Yeah, but he's played in.
Then I'm gonna let you go because you've been wanting to say something. Yeah. But my point is like I just don't like the idea that he's always going for the Pep rejects as a quick fix to what he's trying to do. And not only that, he has to pay 70 million for someone who's not even wanted in his club. Like I just don't think that's the right price.
Sophie, just get there's a super chat. There's a super chat here. He is not wanted in the club. He fall out with the manager. He was one of their best players over the past 3-4 seasons. Let's get it straight. The successful City
Because he
team,
weren't playing.
he was one of the most successful players. People were comparing him with Trent, even though he doesn't have even half of Trent's numbers. Like stats wise, he doesn't, but he was compared to Trent as one of the best fullbacks in the league. So let's get it straight. To be honest, like he was one of the greatest fullbacks in the last 3-4 years. So
Well, that's a red flag for me straight away. Then, if it's falling out with the manager, if you're falling out with the best manager in world football right now, he ain't gonna have
But
no.
that was more due to. And I know there's hearsay about him falling out, but that was essentially he wasn't playing. He wasn't playing games because he
And
came out
what?
of favour. And I think someone like a Cancelo, someone that's got an ego. Look, if you go and drop Mo Salah for 3, 4, 5 games on a bounce, I guarantee there's going to be a falling out. Klopp's come out himself and said that.
And the thing with Pep
for
is,
one game it is an issue. So
and the thing with Pep is, Pep doesn't always drop people because they're bad. He goes through those. But you know, there's times where Gundogan plays lows and he doesn't. Look how he changes his centre backs over the last 2 or 3 years. I don't know. I look at this as look, the fact that Bayern Munich want him tells me how good he is as a footballer. Financially, they just can't compete. It's going to be an interesting one.
What
Tevin
I want to know is just quickly. I just want to know, when are Arsenal going to get flack for signing Man City players? Because my team got flack for just signing who whatever else wants. I want to know when Arsenal are going to start getting flack.
I just
for Man
did,
City.
Dave. There you go.
One second. I think that's a bit unfair because honestly, I'm the first person that wants to slay Arteta. But I think if you look at every manager, at one point they're gonna go for their old the players that they know they play with.
This
Ten
guy's
Hag
done it with
himself-
4 man them. With
Ten
4
Hag himself
guys.
has gone for like 4 players from Ajax in the last transfer window.
We made
Conte
like 5. We
went
made
for
like 5 signings in the summer, and then everyone was like, "Oh, you just copy people." That man is
Yeah,
doing the
but
same thing. Nah. I'm not having
They
it.
What I
don't
would
copy
say-
them. He knows and he works with them and he knows the players and he knows them well and he knows that they can fit into the system.
He
because
never
has the
gets
same
their
exact
best
system as
players.
them.
That's my point. You're
Yes.
not going
Yeah,
to
but their
City
best players-
and
their
getting
best
their
players don't
best.
want to come. Their best
Exactly,
players
but
don't
that's
wanna
my point. If you're going, if Arsenal is big enough to go and say we want your best players, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but imagine you say we want De Bruyne off you guys. I'm not going to call De Bruyne a reject. Obviously, I'm not saying that's going to happen. That's just hypothetically speaking, because that is arguably their best player. If you go and you get their best players, I wouldn't have an issue with it. But it seems to me that every time Pep doesn't want a player for whatever reason, he's going to Arteta's team. And this is the part that would piss me off if I'm an Arsenal fan, because why are we always going for what he doesn't think is good enough for his team anymore? But we're not going for the best
I
players.
understand that, but are you over-indexing it? Because Bayern Munich are a bigger club than City, want this guy. Barcelona, that are a bigger club than City, want Ilkay Gundogan. It wasn't just Arsenal that went in for Gabriel Jesus last year. A number of teams went in for him. Zinchenko, I'm not too sure about. Like, Arsenal shouldn't be ridiculed because they're amongst a number of giant clubs that are going for some of these City players that are exiting. You know, Bernardo Silva was wanted by PSG and Barcelona. Are they ridiculous for wanting Bernardo Silva? Because
Barcelona also signed Aubameyang, which they told me wasn't good enough for the team anymore and was disrupting the dressing room. So it's the same logic to be used.
But that's exactly the point. Just because a player is done at a particular... When Milner signed for Liverpool, it was looked at as mad. But what Milner done at Liverpool has been really good considering when he joined and the age that he was at. I don't think it's fair just to say a manager's got bad talent ID or he's signing rejects when a number of the biggest clubs in Europe all want these players at the same time. Why should Arsenal, because Arteta used to work there as a coach, go, "Oh, we better not go for him because it might get ridiculed by fans online," when other big clubs in Europe are trying to sign him? That for me just doesn't make sense. Like, Man United will never get an ex-City player. If we could sign Gundogan this summer, I'd love that. He's brilliant. Why would I not want him at my club? You know, same with Cancelo. I think he's really good. I don't understand why people a year ago were talking about this guy being the best fullback in the country. Now the way everyone talks about him is like he's Aaron Wan-Bissaka without the defense.
Can I just say, while I understand what Staffy's saying and I get what he's saying, one thing I would say is the players that we have signed from Manchester City, whether they be Pep's rejects or not, they have moved. And would you agree in what I'm saying here? They have moved the needle for Arsenal, whether it be ever so slightly or, you know, they've got us challenging for a league title. So I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, it kind of justifies like going for these players as well. But on your point, Tel, the one thing that worries me about Cancelo is his defensive deficiencies. You know, we've already seen with Zinchenko, we have major defensive deficiencies with Zinchenko in the side. If you look at over our last 9 games, we conceded 16 goals. And if you check the stats as well, I can pretty much guarantee you at least half, if not more of them goals came down Zinchenko's side. So that's what worries me about Cancelo.
I do understand that. We've got some super chats here. First one says, "Man,
Terry,
go on, mate.
I need to head off now as well.
Oh, okay, bro. I appreciate that. Cheers,
Thanks so
JJ.
much, guys. Take it
Man,
easy.
thank you, bro. Thank you. We'll switch back to this view. Man City signed 5 players when they were building. Were they rejects? It's a little different because they
bought them out. Like
they bought them out. But I hear you. As much as I love Kieran Tierney, would do a swap for Cancelo. If we need a natural left-footed left back, Guerrero is on a free. Both good depth there. This here says, so I just wanted to get through this super chat. Sorry, Bran. What is he talking about? Easy option. Arteta has made 2 signings from City. What is he talking about? Cheating from Pep. Look at all the other signings, is what Tevin Thames.
What are all the other signings? Talk to me about all the other signings, because I've seen a lot of signings that haven't really worked well. You're gonna tell me Odegaard, okay, and then what? Saliba was already yours. Okay, Gabriel. There's a lot of signings that actually failed.
Would you say Odegaard, Martinelli, was he good?
He wasn't a signing, no. Was he? He's been there since Emery days.
No. He wasn't.
No, Martinelli was signed into the academy.
Been here since Emery.
Yeah,
he's Emery.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, look.
Talk to me about Willian and David Luiz. If you want to come at me, not you, Terry, in like the comments. If you want to come at me, mention these people. Because there's a lot of signings, as I said. Like I just named a couple of them, bro. Like there's a lot of bad signings that happen, and I just feel it's always easy just to go to whoever's leaving City. Let's try to get him.
But it's the right decision to make, though. It's the right decision to make, though, because he already knows that they fit into the system. He already knows that they're a great player to have in the team. Like I think, although it's easy way out, it's the correct way to go about it, because that's a player that will come in and understand the system.
Ten Hag did the same thing and he was ridiculed. Okay, so they were like, "Why is he going for just Ajax people?"
I get that. So are you just doing? Are you just doing?
No, I'm not doing it because of that.
So I'm going to do it.
No. I truly believe that. I promise you. I'm not just trying to be bitter here. But what I was going to say is that he was being told, okay, people were saying he's doing that, where he's going for Anthony, Lisandro, even Eriksen, because he played for Ajax. But then he went and he got Casemiro from Real Madrid. If Arsenal do these type of signings, but then they sign a very big name in the summer, I'll be like, you know what? He's getting some familiarity, but he's also going for world-class players that he's trying to put in this team, and they're like more on the ready side.
But you should, then, again, we're only talking about rumors right now. They're the favourites to sign Declan Rice. So that's actually happening at the same time, bro.
I gotta see it happen then.
My only thing with these signings is that how are you going to beat Pep with Pep's old signings and his old system? David
Cancelo was one of his best players.
No, but my point is that right now Pep's not even using fullbacks. Pep's rolling out with 4 centre backs.
Let's correct that. Pep's
rolling out with 4 centre backs right now. Like, how are you going to beat Pep with his old formula when he's got a new one? He ditched the old one. He ditched them. If Cancelo was there now, he'd barely play. Do you
think he ditched that because he got a new way of playing? Guys, just listen. They have Gabriel Jesus, who worked with them, and they got Centurion. They got one of the best teams that we've seen in the Premier League. They have him now. Cancelo was one of that part of that team. Cancelo moved to 65 million from Juventus, 65 million euros to Man City. Got him better, went to Bayern Munich, they won him. And now Arsenal, if they want to do the right thing, they buy this guy, no matter what his price is. Arsenal said, we want to compete. They're going to go for Declan Rice. They go for Caicedo. They get Gundogan a 3-year contract. They get Cancelo. They can compete. This is the problem with Cancelo. There's only one problem with Cancelo.
I don't think they can. I still don't think they can, even with those signings.
Logically, like David, I get what you're saying. I get the hesitant of saying Arsenal will compete, but I don't see the future. I'm being logical here. They get Declan Rice, they get Caicedo, they get a leader in Gundogan, they get Cancelo. They can. What's stopping this team from competing? I don't get it.
If that was their window, then the whole you sign a City reject thing becomes a madness.
For me,
Manchester City stops them.
For me,
Yeah,
Manchester City.
Yes,
and
I agree, guys.
we'll move on to this. If you let me just control this, we're going to move on to this. I've got to do the super chat. So
Okay,
the
I
viewers
thought you're
are
done. Sorry.
I love my panel, but my viewers are more important. I've got to get to their points here. This says Ben White, Odegaard, Partey, Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, Gabriel, the centre back, allow it. And D also says Ramsdale, White, Gabriel, Odegaard, Trossard, Zinni, Jesus. Good signings of their manager there. You United fans talking about signings, and you bring up and you're buying Real Madrid rejects.
I got him triggered. I love it. So Casemiro now is a Real Madrid reject. Okay.
Is what he says there. There is talk tonight actually about Rice talking to Bayern Munich. We always knew other clubs are going to get involved in that, but we'll cover that more tomorrow on the terrace. Don't worry about that. This here says absolute waffler. That Arsenal fan. It's talking about you, Brandon. But you're the only Arsenal fan here, and that's you. The young players felt the pressure towards the end. Sometimes losing the first one gains you more than winning it. And I want to bring that up, though. I kind of want to bring that up. I'm going to come back to some more super chats in a minute. I know there's quite a few of them. The whole challenging City thing, I just want to make a point on this. You said earlier, Brandon, this isn't even that good a City team. This is potentially the greatest Man City team of all time. They're on course to do a treble, which is the hardest achievement. The points total is a fallacy. The points total is a fallacy.
This is where you've got me twisted, Tel. In terms of the league, this isn't the best Manchester.
But the league is running at the same time as the other tournaments. So you can't just discount.
Yes, which is my point. This is my point, Tel. This is my point. There's a reason why Manchester City only had to get 89 points to retain the league this season, right? Number one was they started the season poorly by their standards because, as I was saying, it didn't quite click with, Haaland and that. We was all talking about it. Does Haaland suit this system? Blah, blah, blah. And then the second reason is you can't always maintain the level in the Premier League, a very competitive league, when you're also going for a treble, right? So I believe a Manchester City team that isn't also going for a treble like they are this season gets more points. And I
get that, but you don't know if they're going to be going for a treble again next year. If you look at their Centurions year and the following year, they got 98 points. In the Centurions year, they had no FA Cup run, and they went out in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. The 89 points year, they did win they won the FA Cup, but they had no tough ties at all in that game. The final was Watford, but again went out in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. If they had gone out of the Champions League and the FA Cup in round 4 and quarterfinals again, they probably would have finished this league season in mid to high 90 points because that would have been their only remaining thing to focus on. But at the start of a season, they are going for the treble. And I think what happened with City this year, you look back and hindsight's lucrative. I think they did start slowly. And I think some of it was by design. I think there was a reason that when they played you towards the end of the season, when a lot of teams were looking tired, they had more energy than anybody else. Was it a fact that they were playing slightly beneath themselves on purpose in the earlier round? Almost, it's going to be a long season, the World Cup in the middle. The way we're going to have to sort of reserve some energy for later on down the home straight, as an example. This will all come out in the washing years to come when books get written and when people start talking about what they did, especially this season, because this season, even when all the teams broke up for the World Cup, some stayed training for a few weeks, some had 3 weeks off, some had 2 weeks off, some went to warm weather training camps. Everyone kind of approached the World Cup break differently because no one knew how to handle it because it's never happened where a whole league gets shut down like that. So it's going to be intriguing next year. I think teams can compete with City. I really, and back to that super chat from earlier that said, should the top 6 teams expect their clubs? Yes. Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, all of us should be expecting, barring Tottenham, we should all be expecting to bridge that gap with them this year. And I just don't like this defeatist attitude of, doesn't matter what we do, we can't win, so what's the point? I find it crazy. Personally. But maybe
Terry, I've got something to say on your opinion on what they were doing before the World Cup. I don't think that was the case because I think City over this last few years, every single time in the beginning of the season, they've gone through this bad form. If you look at it, last season, they had the same bad form. The season before that, they had the same bad form. I remember this because when we had Jose Mourinho as our manager, we were in a mini title race and City were in like 6th in January and they still went on to win the league. So this is something that happens every season with Manchester City. So I don't think that they were just planning to conserve their energy for the World Cup and then go at it after the World Cup.
Maybe that is. Maybe again, and if you're right, and they start slowly every single season, then it gives everybody a chance, then, doesn't it? Because I'm telling you now, if Liverpool are 8 points clear with 9 games to go, they'd have won the league. But again, if Arsenal go and that's why when people say they can't be that far ahead again, and this is why things always change for me. So 1 minute, City always start slowly. Well, if City are always starting slowly, if Arsenal improve their team, or Liverpool improve their team, if Man United improve their team, why can't somebody else be ahead of them by 4, 5, 6 points come January, February? That's if the point is they always start slowly, then it's illogical to say nobody can get ahead of them and get a lead in front of them again.
Because they always win the marathon. It's like a marathon for them.
But that isn't my point. The point is I'm making people say no one's going to get 5 points ahead of them again. Well, if Dan's right and they always start slowly, why is it inconceivable that people can't get ahead of them? Maintaining it towards the back. The difference is if Arsenal had a deeper squad, if Arsenal had a Cancelo equivalent in their team this year, a Rice equivalent, a Cancelo equivalent, a Gundogan equivalent, they had 4 more players like that in their squad. I believe, with title winning experience as well.
Yeah,
I don't believe they collapse.
I think it was more about title experience because
it's going to be hard to beat City, but I don't. Maybe it's my mentality as a human being. I don't do fucking defeatism. I don't do that's impossible. I don't live in a world where nothing can be achieved. I can't live like that. So when I hear people go, no matter what, none of us, let's all fuck these conversations off.
Shut down the league again.
Shut the league down because no one's ever catching City. City are amazing and deserve all their praise. But what is this bullshit defeatist and attitude from people? Maybe it's young people nowadays. Maybe you're all taught that if you come last, you still get a winner's medal. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what it is. It's mad to me. Show some backbone. Stand up and say what you got to do and give it. Come on. What is wrong with
people don't trust their owners.
What's wrong with you young people?
I was going to say,
it's not an impossible task.
Maybe in 2 years. Maybe
it's not an impossible task.
Next year's too early.
Yeah, okay. I'll be waiting my whole life, and I still.
It's not an impossible task.
When I said Arsenal won't challenge, I said that on many shows before because I don't trust their owners to go and get it over to get these signings. Like we're talking now about Rice, is he gonna go to Arsenal or not? We can talk about Cancelo. There's hesitance there. Gundogan, can they offer him can they convince him? That's my problem. But if they go sign all these players, I'm sorry, Arsenal already proved up until game 30, they were playing sensational football with their starting 11 until Saliba got injured. If they had replacement for Saliba at the same level, they could have won the league.
Can I just say as well, there are
very quickly because I've got to go back to these super chats. Go on, Brad. Go on, Brad.
There are other. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying you've got to get anywhere between 92 and 98 points if you want to beat Manchester City to a league title. And there's other factors to this as well. You got to remember, Arsenal were playing Europa League football this season, and we went out fairly early out of the competition as well, out of the FA Cup, out of the League Cup. So we only had the Premier League to concentrate on, and we still didn't win the league.
Yeah, I get again, but this is where I like to challenge all these theories. The Man City players, the champion state, that being in the Champions League and the Premier League at the same time is what keeps you sharp and keeps you going. 1 game a week. Most professionals say that doesn't really help them. Now, I know Chelsea won the league 1 year doing that, but when I hear most pros speak, they say I prefer 2 games a week. So again, but this is why I get confused. 1 minute, 1 game a week is the perfect thing for you, but then the professionals will say we much prefer 2 a week. So why are we not listening to the professionals that say that's better for you?
Yeah, but I'll also tell you the difference, Terry. Manchester City fans were not sitting there hoping that they lose the cup or whatever so they can focus on the league. They all come out and say that the more games they play, the sharper they stay, and they stay in form. Whereas you had Arsenal fans saying we had bigger fish to fry. That's different.
But bro, that's nothing to do with the reality of football. This is let me finish. This is fans, because I've been in this game. I've been in the game longer than anyone, as long as anybody in the industry. That's a precursor to stop banter. That's all it is. Yeah. You've got Sam already doing it. I don't want us to even try for the Europa League next year. That way he can say if they get knocked out, but I didn't want it anyway. That's the only reason he's saying it.
Yeah, but I'm saying about the atmosphere that you create, Terry. When you see your fans are okay with losing, because as an example, AFTV, players watch AFTV. We know that because they're that big that people see that. When they see AFTV, most of them saying we're happy that we lost, and no one is putting any pressure on them losing. Oh, forget it. It's just a Europa League. Oh, forget it. It's just a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup. That's the environment you create under these players, and that's not a winning mentality in the club. Whereas City don't have that. City have a winning mentality all over.
I totally get that. We have got some other subjects. I do need to move us on now swiftly, people. Otherwise, there's a super chat here that says conspiracy to consider City under the UAE, Arsenal sponsored by Emirates, so perhaps sports washing by City players with inflated sponsorships. That's a conspiracy theory and a half. You got to be thirsty to pay 125 million for a 31-year-old. Man United are gasping for a striker, my friend, gasping. Sterling, we'll come back to that one. What's your reaction to the Munich situation? They're right to sack board members. We'll see what happens with Tuchel. I'm not convinced he's staying, but we'll see. I don't think we are going to buy a right winger because in Klopp's eyes, Salah is his version of Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi. Salah is his talisman. Salah never gets benched, but plus Klopp said, I will be busy on the phone this summer. Thank you, Honesty. News just came out of Rice talking to Tuchel and Bayern Munich. Yes, I've seen that news as well. Where do you get these Evertonians? That's obviously a dig at JJ from earlier. Staffy, we can argue the same for Man United going for so-called Madrid rejects, Varane and Casemiro. Cancelo is better than White and Tomiyasu at right back. Big up is what Bison says.
Casemiro won the Champions League final and then we bought him. That's not a reject. Reject is being loaned out to Bayern because I don't want.
But how many games in the Champions League did he play?
I don't know. I just know he was the man of the match of the Champions League final. So let's please speak with more facts.
Gundogan could be one of their main. That could be their captain of a treble. If they sign him straight away, would that be a reject?
Gundogan wants to go to the MLS. He was talking about going to America. So if he's trying to go on vacation and then Arsenal's trying to sign him, what does that show me about it? He's 34, bro. He's 34.
Stop the bitterness.
It's not bitterness. He's 34. Why are you signing him after his best days are past him? Why can't he go for the better ones?
Let me tell you why. Mentality cost us this season. We need leaders and winners in our squad. So Gundogan would be the perfect signing.
He's 32.
He's 32. Not 34. He's younger than me.
What's it? Gundogan's actual mentality. I still don't believe that Jesus and Zinchenko are actually mentality guys. I'm not convinced of it personally.
If he truly wants to go to the MLS at 32, I don't even think he has the mentality.
It came out last season, and it wasn't even me. It's the big city content creators. I'm just telling you what they've been saying. So if he wanted to leave last season and he convinced him to stay one more year, I rate Gundogan because people are going to sit here and say, why doesn't he rate these guys? I rate them. I'm just saying, why do you always keep going for the ones that are leaving City for one reason or another when you could be recruiting people that are maybe as good but younger? Playing in other clubs.
They are.
Bro, they've already got a young team.
You're annoying me. They are looking at other players as well. They're not saying Gundogan and that's it. So why are you ignoring the other half of the story, Staffy?
I haven't seen any of these signings. I haven't seen these signings. I see you coming out with Cancelo 70 million.
You're telling me you haven't seen Caicedo and Rice linked to Arsenal?
No, I've seen Rice, but we're talking about Cancelo 70 million today. That was the topic. What do you want me to say?
Why are you going to ignore the Rice and the Caicedo stories as well? Why are you
I'm not ignoring it. I'm not ignoring it. The topic right now is about Cancelo 70 million.
No,
I said he's...
No, Staffy. No, you're ignoring it because you're saying, why are they just linked to this old guy and not looking at other young alternatives when you know they are? I love the rivalry, but you can't just sit there and ignore.
I swear it's not even rivalry. I just expect him to do better. That's all I'm saying. If they were a smaller club, I would say okay, but a club as big as Arsenal should be doing that.
But they're doing what you're moaning about them not doing, they're doing. And that's why I don't get it.
So what if they don't get Rice after all that? And they just go ahead and have a very similar summer to last summer?
Then we'll criticize it. But what you're saying is, why go after an old man like Gundogan and not some young alternatives as well when they are doing that?
Come on, Terry. Everyone's after Rice. You're acting like Rice is someone that no one else knew but Arsenal. Obviously, everyone's going for Rice. Everyone who can get Rice is going to get it.
Getting out of hand.
What's that got to do with the price of eggs?
It's getting out of hand.
What is that? What?
What's that got to do with the price of eggs? They're looking at young alternatives. Just because other clubs are interested in Rice doesn't mean that Arsenal are not looking at young alternatives.
Yeah, because you're talking about them going after Rice like it's an anomaly. Everyone's out of Rice.
Okay, well, Staffy, can I add something? Maybe you don't know. Maybe something is missing here. Maybe something is missing here before we go to the super chat. Staffy, Gundogan is free. They're not going to pay a penny for him. He is just an extra signing if they can convince him to sign a 3-year contract. So he isn't a signing. He's a free agent at the end of the season. He isn't their signing.
That's fine, bro. He can go. It's not going to change my opinion on it.
Cool. Terry, you're 100% correct with that attitude. Why play games, bro? Let's give Man United the title for more years. Yeah, I can't do Man City. Sorry, I can't do the negativity around not challenging people. Maybe it's because I was an athlete myself. Maybe it's my mindset on life. But this defeative, negative attitude, honestly, if it was my kids, they'd be getting spanked. Do you know what I'm saying? They'd be getting hard licks across them legs. I'm joking. I never hit my kids. It's a bit of a joke. Why do we always get male Arsenal fans that are either negative about everything or can't articulate themselves or hold up a proper, concise argument? Is what Aya's got to say. Brandon, they didn't say poorly. So they didn't start poorly. Stop it, is what D says here. Sorry, we'll put that one up. Does this Arsenal fan understand what context is? There was a World Cup, yet City's still fighting for a treble, but somehow 89 points means they are bad.
Oh, dear me.
And man wants Arsenal to go after world-class players, yet gets mad when they go after players that everyone else wants, laughing my arse off.
Yeah, that's definitely what I said.
A question here, away from the transfers. This can be a player or it can be a team. Who is your biggest flop? Biggest flop of the season? I'm going to go to David first on this one.
See, okay, right. I'm not going to say the obvious answer because I'm sure everyone else would love to say that answer and I don't want to banter on my team. For me, personally, I think maybe the flop of the season could be Spurs, you know? Just because I remember being sat in a room at the start of the season and Spurs fans were talking about title charge.
Yeah, okay, but who is saying title charge, bro?
No.
Let him land.
Terry, me and Terry were in the same room when this happened. I remember it very distinctly. They were talking about title charge, and they didn't even finish in Europe. Everyone was predicting that weird things were going to happen to Chelsea, so that was kind of expected. But Spurs, it was like, oh, you got Conte, serial winner, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, and then you didn't even get in the Europe, not even Conference League. But Villa beat you to that. Obviously, there's Chelsea, but I feel like that's like, that's a free hit. I'm trying to think outside of the box a bit more.
I thought we were doing transfers.
Like, no. Bigger. It can be anything. A team, a player, a signing, anything. Yeah.
Who's gonna go second?
Go on. I've got for my personal team player flop of the season would be Fabio Vieira. But overall flop of the season player would be Richarlison for me.
I'll go because everybody calls Richarlison a flop. I just think we misused him.
One goal.
Bro, his name's Richard, bro. That guy from
Chelsea didn't flop this season. Potter just misused them.
No, but in seriousness, he's a striker, and we played like the whole season. We played him on the wing. That's on us.
He signed for 70 mil.
Yeah, then the complaint office is right down the corner. You can just go complain there.
That's because we're stupid. I mean,
that's because we're stupid.
We paid 60 million for. I get he's not worth 60 million. We could have definitely splashed that on a center back. Instead, we got Longley on loan when we wanted to spend 60 million on a pigeon. I understand that. But at the same time, you can't say he's a flop of the season because we bought him as a backup striker and we played him on the wing the whole season. That's on us.
There's so many options for this. Like Richarlison could be it. Mahalo Mudryk could be it. Some people are shouting Anthony. Look, Anthony scored some goals. He won a trophy this year. I'm not giving it to Anthony when there's Mudryks and Richarlison's out there.
Frank Lampard has a 10% win.
Lampard. It could be it.
He to be fair, he did.
Chelsea's an easy option.
Yeah.
Because of how bad this season was. Liverpool, almost doing a quad, and then falling out the top four, winning nothing. But I'm going to back David and go with Tottenham, you know. And the reason I'm going to go with Tottenham is they had their greatest ever start to a top flight league season ever. They were crying they should be called title contenders, and we're as good as Arsenal. They wanted my channel boycotted when I said they'd come fifth, and they came 8th. Greatest ever. By the way, look, Arsenal get bantered. United we've all been bantered this year. But imagine having your greatest ever start to a Premier League season, the best ever. You're neck and neck with all the big boys, and you end up 8th and sinking like the Titanic. Yeah, I'm going Tottenham as my biggest. overall flops of the season, I'm going Tottenham.
Yo, but who said we're gonna be in a title race? That's
No,
mad.
no. Me and Terry at the start, we did a big review show at the start of the year, and we legitimately had Spurs fans saying they have a chance.
To be fair,
There
then
was
a
a
lot of
chance.
people did say that. They
There
were
was a
saying they
chance.
won the
No
summer
news,
transfer
Spurs
window.
fans
That was a
are-
thing.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah,
didn't. I
definitely.
really didn't know that we're going to talk about this show. But I was thinking about it this morning, and I think, in my opinion, it's not. If it's not only top 6, I think it's Chelsea, Spurs, then Leicester. In my opinion, then Liverpool. These are the worst, based on expectations and predictions. In my opinion, because Leicester getting relegated is a big deal with the players they have. Liverpool being 5th after signing Nunes and then getting Gakpo. Yes, they improved, but I thought they would do better in the beginning of the season. I predicted them maybe to fall off because I don't trust in Nunes, but they spent a lot of money. Flop of the season, 100% is Richarlison, then Raheem Sterling for me in terms of signing.
Could
I'm gonna go with Kylo Modric.
Well,
came
he hasn't
in
played
about
in. Here's
three,
the
he
problem with
hasn't
Modric. Dave, can you correct me if I'm wrong? Mikhailo Modric did not play even enough sample for us to judge him. Is
I
that
think
There's a
correct or
reason
wrong?
why he didn't play enough. There's a reason why he didn't play enough because he's not.
We
Yeah,
can say the
because we
same
had-
about Richarlison. Don't do that to yourself.
Hold on.
He did.
We had
Didn't he play? Richarlison
45
played enough, didn't he?
people. We had 45 people in our squad. Like
Yeah, he
played-
came in a bad
He
period.
came in
Yeah.
with about. I think he's maybe played about 400 minutes in the Prem. I don't
He
think
came
Also,
in
he came in
January.
January. He
Yeah.
didn't start the season with the same
Like-
team.
He
Like
came
I
in
wouldn't
January.
consider
His
him.
manager got
Also-
sacked right
also-
away.
Who are we agreeing on? Who are you going to agree on? Who's the-
Richarlison for me.
I didn't give a
is
vote
the-
yet. I
Liverpool?
have a vote.
You go
I have a
on.
vote still. I feel like Nunez doesn't get enough talk about how bad his season has been. This guy has 9 league
Scored a lot of
goals,
bro.
and 9 is a lot of goals. I think
More than
Martial has
Richarlison.
like 7, so he's 2 better than him, and that guy's been disastrous for us. But 9 league goals, and they don't even know his best position. I'm hearing JJ say, or I forgot who said, oh, like he plays better on the left, or now Gakpo's playing as a false 9, and Gakpo came halfway through the season. And mind you, they spent 80 million on this guy, and it was their first signing. He was their marquee signing, where people were saying maybe we should have invested that money in the midfield, and they ignored the midfield to invest that money in him just to get 9 goals. And at the end of the season, you're not even starting because they don't know if you're better on the left or in the middle. That's definitely worth a lot more talk than he's getting. I get the Richarlison, but he's definitely a shot.
You know what? With the Nunes stuff, do you know what got me earlier on in the season? And I'm still someone that thinks there's a player in there. It was the whole Captain Chaos, where it was like he ain't scoring goals, but he's chaos, so he's amazing. And I just remember thinking to myself, I've never ever heard a striker that's struggling, but because he runs around like the way Jamie Carragher propped him up, like that's what you want. Like if you ever get a girlfriend or a boyfriend, ladies and gentlemen, you want them to defend you and protect you, like Jamie Carragher did him. A real interesting one there. Sorry, you're gonna say something, Brand?
Yeah, what about Sam Allardyce? Like he sold Leeds fans the dream, mate. He told them he was as good as Pep.
Listen, he's a scam artist. They told him we'll sign you for 4
half
games.
£1,000,000 a point. £500,000 a point.
It's not even his fault, honestly.
The funniest thing is that he's probably off back home now, going, look at that, like 2 or 3 million quid in my back pocket for a few weeks worth, and he knew he wasn't turning that round.
Did you see him yesterday before the game?
Job? Did you see what he said about the Spurs job?
No,
they asked Sam Allardyce, oh, would you take the Spurs job? And he said, well, first of all, I'd have to check if there's a plan, there's a vision. I'm like, bro, this guy will come into a meeting with Levy and he'll tell him the plan, he'll tell him the vision, and then he'll go, no, I don't want Spurs.
But
You know your objective at the beginning.
He was sitting there retired, not thinking about coming back to football. And randomly, Lee's phoned him up and said, "Yo, we're gonna feel like 3 million quid for 4 games." And I bet you he hung that phone up and burst out laughing. And I can't believe it. Right, we're booking a nice little trip to Malia, or we're gonna go after the Bahamas afterwards. I bet he's buying a new holiday home somewhere. Like I couldn't believe it.
Wasn't he gonna get 5 million if he got him out of relegation as well?
Something
that
like
was-
that. There's a lot of Veghorst should be flop at the season. A £2 million loan. I'm not having it. He won a cup as well. I'm not having it. Next question is most improved or most surprising player, team, manager, whatever you think. Mo first. Most improved or most surprising?
Arsenal. Most surprising, most improved team in the league, of course. And nobody expected them to be that good this year. I didn't. I really didn't. I think the most improved is Granit Xhaka, for me, to be honest.
David?
For me, biggest surprise is Gary O'Neill. And like, I know we don't talk about top six, like we only talk about the top six, but when Scott Parker got sacked, I was like, Bournemouth are already going down. Now they don't even have a manager; they're going down. And Gary O'Neill's come in, and he's been genuinely, he's been actually very good. They played some very good stuff, and he's kept them up. So props to him. And then biggest improvement's got to be, surely it's got to be Newcastle, no? It's got to be Newcastle.
So
From where they,
can I ask you
were,
something before we move on? Can we ask you something? But Dave, the most improved this year is from last year. Newcastle already from December until the end of the season, they were the third best team in the country already.
No, but
so they just continued the same trajectory. I get your point, but they just continued the same trajectory.
I even still think the Arsenal finished. Everyone forgets Arsenal should have been in the Champions League last year. They already were almost at the level where they should have been challenged. Well, where there was a jump to be challenging. Going from Newcastle, who I think finished 10th last year, and bringing them all the way and skipping every European competition, going straight to the Champions League. That for me is phenomenal. That is a really that is a difficult achievement to achieve, especially when you look at that Newcastle squad. The way Botman came in and has been absolutely fantastic. Trippier came in absolutely fantastic. Joel Linton in midfield. Joel Linton might even be most improved player, because from where he was to where he is now, I'm not like Joel Linton's not a fantastic player, but from where he had games where people were going, that guy, he can ball. And there was no way 12 months ago anyone would say that about Joel Linton. Newcastle is, they've improved.
Good shout, really Newcastle's a great shout. You obviously got Brighton that would fall into that kind of mix as well, because they have achieved a lot more than anybody expected.
Even Villa's a good
Aston Villa.
From
they finished 14th.
For 17th to from 17th to 7th, just by getting Unai Emery, that they turn around their season amazing. They definitely deserve a shot.
Also, flop Gerrard. We should have mentioned him.
Yeah, some of the flops. Yeah, we missed out. Even Son. Dan should have been talking about Son. He was probably happy that he didn't. He's like, I got away with that one.
With Son, it's a bit like Richarlison as well, where I think we misused him. I think every game that Perisic played, Son looked like a completely different player. And then when Sessegnon played, he had so much more freedom. Son even said in a press conference that he felt like he was trapped as himself as a player and that he needed to be released. I think Conte, I was not Conte out, but I think we misused him.
Yeah. Let's apply that context to everybody and have no fun. That's what we should do. That's what we should do.
Okay, fine. Son is a flop of the season.
Yeah. I'm going to be biased with mine. So I think everyone's suggestions are great. A lot of people are going, oh, he's going to say Marcus Rashford. I could say Marcus Rashford. But biggest surprise, having a Hobbit as a centre-back who shut everybody up
I hear it.
in Lisandro Martinez. The way, for me, because when we signed him, I've never seen a new signing get that level of not just ridicule about his ability on the ball, but his height. He won't hack it here. He's going to flop. He won't be able to maintain it. There was feature-length segments on Sky, BT, ESPN FC talking about how he's going to get exposed and exploited. And in the end, every single one of those pundits just said, he's really good, really sorry. So I think in terms of biggest surprise, I think that for a lot of people was, not for me personally, because obviously when you're buying a player, you do your research on him. I felt he would always deliver. But yeah, I think he's a shout for somebody I think that shocked a few people because of his height, really. So yeah, that's a biased option as a Man United fan from my point of view. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with what, Jess on one of our opening shows of the season was trying to get it only lasted a few weeks because he was so good. She was calling him Tywin Martinez. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I mean? And it didn't work out too well.
Look at our team since he fell with injury. We haven't really been playing good football ever since he got injured in that Sevilla game, and it just shows you how great his buildup was in our defense. We massively dropped, even though Lindelof has been doing a good job. I don't want to dismiss what he's been doing, but you can tell that we really got very hurt when he was out as versus Varane, because it was a little bit easier for us to replace Varane with Lindelof than Lisandro. He was very essential to our buildup. Everything that Ten Hag is trying to do in this team, I really believe it starts with Lisandro, and him being out. If you actually watch Man United games, you would understand why our standards have dropped massively since he's been out. So he's definitely, for me, also on a biased shout, he is one of my surprises because I didn't think he would be this good. But more of in a general way, in the league, the whole league, I was going to say, since I didn't get my say yet, I was going to say Newcastle and Eddie Howe. I feel like Eddie Howe has absolutely surprised. He's a surprise and an improvement at the same time, because people forget that just a few years ago he was relegated with Bournemouth, and he came back and he's like easily top 5 managers in the league right now. Absolutely phenomenal to take this team from where they were last year. Didn't even make that major signings yet. Like when you look at the signings they've had, they haven't had.
They have about 5 new starters.
No, but they haven't made like. There's no like, wow, look at this marquee signing that they made. You know, because they got all that Saudi money. They're not even in that phase yet. He's recruited good players, and that just shows you that his identification of talent is good, because he signed the players that he needs, and he went from 11th or 10th last season. And he finished in the top 4. I didn't expect him to finish in the top 4 this year. I could say there's only a few people that show up on this panel that said that, you know. So he's definitely worth a shot for surprise and improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. We've got some super chats here. First one says, can we talk about the choke of the century, Arsenal? That team choked hard like is it Khalifa? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Khalifa,
Nabil obviously watches a lot more of that stuff than I do. Never did. They are clowns. Nabil's out here. He knows. This is from I Cut My that says, hi, Terry. Summer is coming, so it would be great to have Colleen on more often again. Biggest flop. I wonder where you were going for a second there. I really wonder where you were going. Mahalo Mudrik or Richarlison. I think you can
it's got to be Richard, man. It's Richard,
yeah. This year, most improved player, actually, someone said AWB could be a shout for that. You know, I mean, he did very, very well. He did very well. Tell this DJ Khaled guy to get back in the studio.
I think he's talking about me.
I was going to say, it took me a minute to clock who he was talking about.
Thank you for the super chat.
It's Gal in a staffy mask. You're not slicky, Gal.
wait. Gal would have never said the stuff that I'm saying, because I've been going at.
They would have said it the other way, but
he would about other people's clubs. He would ignore. Lee Gunner does it when he talks Man United. He ignores. He says things like, "Your manager never calls out your owners," and I keep sending him snippets of him calling them out, and he's like, "Well, it's because you don't research it." Do you know what I mean? There's you sitting there going, "Arsenal are only after old men. What about Rice? That don't count. Everyone knows who he is." Come on, you had a mayor, Staffy. You had a mayor, bro. But it's okay.
That's not what I said.
Sterling is the biggest flop. Though, what is the point? Well, debating it, it's him. Yeah, he didn't do too well this year, did he? But there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back tomorrow, obviously with more content for you as ever. We're keeping up to date with the latest transfer stories. I did want to show this as well on today's show. Anyone want to see my predictions for how I said the league would end?
Please don't show mine. Mine was.
I have got your. I actually found your. I went and found, because it wasn't everybody wasn't on the show, but Dan was on the show. Colleen. I can get Colleen's on as well, actually, because I know Colleen's was in there. So where's Colleen's at? We had Colleen's also on the show. Kaz was on the show as well. You can get Kaz's up on the show, also, and we can get Chatty Patty's, because Chatty Patty was on that top 6 show, all the way back when as well. So we can put them up. We'll do yours first, Young Daniel. Young Daniels were City to win the league. Man. He put Tottenham second. He put Arsenal third. Arsenal third. Chelsea fourth. No, he got Liverpool bang on. He got Liverpool and City bang on. So Young Daniels got 2 right.
Oh, you don't know who.
Right. But West Ham.
Where did West Ham come from?
Place. West Ham in 6th place. You did get 2.
And that's horrendous.
You got 2 right there.
Where did West Ham come from?
Let's take a little look. This is Colleen's. Colleen said City to win the league. Arsenal second. But she went Tottenham third, Liverpool 4th, Chelsea 5th, Man United 6th. So Colleen there getting two of them. I mean, look at that. Predicting Arsenal coming second was a pretty good. I mean, she got called a psychopath back then for saying that. Who else we got here? Let's go to Kaz. Man like Kaz. Oh, Chelsea second.
Arsenal second.
Liverpool third. Arsenal 5th. Again, Kaz there with one prediction right. Chatty Patty. Liverpool. He had Spurs above Arsenal. He did. So when he comes out and says we had a bad squad, I didn't expect this. Remember his predictions. But he did get City right. So he gets 1 right on this, and then we'll have a little look at mine now. My prediction: Man City first, Arsenal second. But look, I went with Liverpool third, Spurs fourth, Chelsea fifth, Man United sixth. I embarrassed myself with my Man United opinion, but 2 right, as you can see. That was my one. I think we've done it in sort of September time, as it were. But yeah, bruv, damn, what were you thinking with this?
Bro,
Spurs coming second?
honestly. And Terry, I don't know if you remember, but on stream, I said, I think we'll finish ahead of Arsenal comfortably.
Conte sold them a dream, bro.
I said comfortably. I was mad, honestly.
Based on these predictions, all of these predictions, they have one thing in common.
City
Probably.
first.
They have Spurs and Chelsea in the top 4.
And Man United.
Most of them. If you look at all of them, everybody had Chelsea and Spurs probably in the top 4. That tells me how flop they were this year.
Yeah, I believe people have got to remember the context of these things. When I predicted Man United, I said I think we're going to improve massively on last year. I said I think that we'll be a better footballing team. We'll win a lot more games. We'll accumulate the amount of points we've got now. I sort of expected, but of course, no one predicted Spurs' drop off, Chelsea's drop off, and Liverpool's drop off, which is why I didn't put us in the top 4. We still had to deliver against those expectations, and we probably accumulated 8-9 points more than I maybe would have expected. I probably wouldn't have said mid-70s at the beginning of the season. So we still had to do more than what we originally predicted to get to where we are. But you've got to see that through. You can't bottle it when the opportunity presents itself. Yeah. But I can't wait for the forthcoming season's predictions, because with the summers we might be having, there's going to be, again, it's going to be interesting to look back and see it's like relegation. I think every single person in the UK got their relegation predictions wrong, because there's no way you didn't put one of the promoted teams in it, and you always put one, almost as a given. So
we did all the promoted teams survive.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, I think that's the only fourth time in the Premier League.
It very rarely happens. So yeah, typically you always put one of them going down. So yeah, lots of L's for all of us this year. There's no doubt about it. Brandon is trying the negative Arsenal fan grift. None of these points make any sense. I know it's because Staffy is the only one who agrees with him.
I don't know if that's a dig at Brandon or Staffy. I'm trying to read the comment again to understand.
We'll see next season. That's all I'll say. I've been right twice in a row.
Brandon is one of the few realists that come on this panel. So
yeah,
if I agree with him,
you too. Like, of course, you guys.
If I agree with him, is because I respect that he's the only one who doesn't just echo the same thing. You all here just echo the same thing as Arsenal.
Yeah, Arsenal. It's scary. I agree with Cho's argument till I saw Dortmund. Yeah, Dortmund not status. Dortmund made me angry.
Do not.
That was way worse.
No,
that was
the disrespect on Granite is mad, unbelievable.
That's why I was so confused by, like, yeah, I know he improved, but most improved. I was like, whoa, that was Granite's like, he's a good player. Like, he's not bad. The
guy was completely out of the club, and then suddenly he's scoring goals, starting every game. I'm like, okay, well, who is this guy?
He's most improved, David, definitely, because we didn't have any red cards this season, I believe.
That's one thing.
None. Arsenal have no red cards.
Hang on. Staffy, do you agree with him?
Leave me out of this.
Listen, boys, thank you all very much for coming on. My viewers, thank you. Remember to go and check out NordVPN now, not just to protect your data from being sold and harvested, and the government knowing what you do on the internet. You can get really great discounts when it comes to things like travel, cars, hotels, and much, much more by turning on your geolocations, changing where you say you are. It's a very clever thing to do. Very, very cheap per month as well. Sign up now. Get a few months free, courtesy of me, when you use the code, as you can see on the screen, /football terrace. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon.